Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again to make the trip to the mountain for the biggest race of the V8SCOPS season. Of course, it is the Bathurst 1000, and we have a full complement of support categories for this weekend, starting on the Friday night. We've got the Flat 4s and Flat 6s up and ready to go for some excellent racing around Australia's premier circuit. My name is Reese Gardner. Dan Yeaman is with me in the comms box. We're bringing this to you live on YouTube, Facebook, and Kick. And of course, Jay Kennedy on production behind the scenes, bringing you live pictures. Dan, of course, it's Bathurst. I mean, we are going to be sick of this track, I think, by the end of this weekend, because we're racing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday around this brilliant venue.
We are indeed. I've just watched a monumental shunt out of the Dipper just to start my weekend off, and apparently I'm being told we'll get a replay of that once we've talked about the circuit some more. But yeah, I get lucky, Reese. I actually get to bail out of some of the supports tomorrow afternoons. I'm off being a fancy boy playing some music, but I'll be back for qualifying Saturday evening, so you won't be completely shot of me. And then, of course, I'll be sitting down to strap in for Sunday and the big race itself. But, I mean, yeah, I was also broadcasting here last night, so I get to claim 4.5 days of commentary around this place. But, I mean, yeah, I guess if there was going to be a place where I'd spend basically 4 nights back to back to back to back doing broadcasting, I would have to suggest this might just be the place to do it at.
Yeah, indeed. I also spent 7 hours last Saturday calling the official iRacing Bathurst 1000 with Arjuna Chankapati on Race Spot. So definitely familiar with the track again for this year. And of course, we have to go to the Flat 4s action first. The drivers are in qualifying at the moment. And here is a replay of that shunt that you were talking about, Dan. Coming out of the Dipper. Oh dear, Daniel Stevens getting a little crossed up on the exit there through the dip, and then wham and bam. Couple more cars come flying in and have to take avoiding action.
Yeah, not pretty. Believe that there being Matt Haywood potentially. No, apologies. Haywood is out there and going. It's Dion DeGraaf, who was the Simblacks car that had to peel into the pits and be done. I think it was Cameron Dance in that blue and yellow Orbit Motorsport entry, but he's able to get back to the pits, I believe, and fix things up, because on my end the front of his car was completely gone. And then there was one of the Kiwi sim race guys in Robert Henry, who tried to keep going, but he's parked up at the outside of Griffin's Bend in the number 7 machine. So that Toyota 86 is going nowhere, and that'll be the end of his session as well. But eyes here on a provisional pole sitter in Matt Haywood, with the long lap times for these cars around the mountain race. Despite the fact we've got less than 3 minutes to go in this qualifying session, drivers are only on their second or third lap in the session as it stands for timing purposes right about now. So not much opportunities here to get something on the board.
Yeah, as you can see, a lap around here takes a solid 2.5 minutes in these Toyota GR86 Cup cars. Matt Haywood hard on the brakes coming into the chase. The braking distances are very small in these cars. They've got powerful brakes and ABS to boot as well. So plenty of pushing to be done in the slow down parts of this circuit. Through the final corner then, I was looking at Haywood earlier. It looked like he clipped the wall coming into the dipper. So will this lap count? Doesn't look like it, unfortunately. That is a 0x somewhere along the line there. On board here for Robert Henry, part of the Kiwi Sim Racing crew, and coming through the dipper, that is when Dan Stevens spun ahead of him. I mean, there was no warning that that was going to happen.
No, he also grabbed the wall on the exit of the dipper as well. I think his instinctive reaction there to try and find the gap actually turned in a little early and, yeah, hit the wall for his troubles. As I was looking at Ben Christensen, who's going to just sneak a chance to get a lap on the board in here, Reese. Cameron Dance has jumped to the top of the timing charts. It's the first driver, the only driver in the 2-minute 31 bracket at this stage. As Christensen's 2-minute 34, did that count? It did indeed. He'll go to P4 for the grid. At this stage for race number 1, looks like we've only got in fact, that's about it, because I think the last car across the line just then was Troy Allen, unfortunately, for the number 23 MFR driver. Not seeing a valid lap next to his name on that second attempt for him in the session.
Yeah, we've got a 10-car field, it looks like, for this round of flat fours, and that is over half the field that has not been able to set a lap time so far in this session. And because we have a 3-race format tonight, all running in the same server, it is once again a hard cut to the end of qualifying. So basically, if you're not on Conrod Straight approaching the chase right now, you won't be able to finish the lap you're on.
And yeah, there is absolutely no one even on Conrod Straight. The first car that's going to get to Conrod is Matt Haywood in the 47, but he's only at Forest Elbow there, as we see on screen. So at 30 seconds to the checkered, he's about, I'd say, 20 seconds short of making it at the very least in this car. We might track and just see how far down the straight he gets here. Race, he should get to probably the exit of the chase, I'd be suggesting. Here as the car will wind up gradually towards its top speed here. In clean air with no draft, it's going to be just on 215 kilometers an hour as he comes through the right-hander of the chase, and almost 220. He will grab the apex of the chase as the checkered flag flies there.
There we go, and everyone is immediately teleported to the pits to get ready for the first of our 3 races tonight. Going to be 20 minutes of racing here. Should work out to, I'd say, maybe 8 or 9 laps in these cars. Cameron Dance is going to start on pole position alongside Matt Haywood. And on the second row, it will be Stead Miller starting alongside Ben Christensen. Troy Allen in P5 was the last driver to set a qualifying time. He's going to be starting alongside KSR's Robert Henry in P6. Henry King will start in 7th spot alongside another middle finger car of Daniel Stevens in the number 3. And then we have the last 2 cars on the field being Lindsay Hobbs and Dion DeGraaf in the second Sim Blacks entry. So there we go. Once again, small fields in the GR86 Cup car, but the racing is almost always entertaining in these things. Can't wait to see how many survive lap 1, because even in a small field, Dan, it's going to be difficult to make it through the S's on the first lap.
Indeed. If they stay packed up together, that will certainly make for an exciting bit of racing, and that's what we certainly do hope to see here tonight. 5 drivers on Zoom at this stage for the flat fours. In the top left of your screen, Ben Christensen, Dan Stevens, centre top row, Taylor Oakes there on the right side of your top row with Robert Henry bottom left and Cam Dance bottom right. Because we do have manual safety cars, the drivers do have about another 25 odd seconds before they'll see the lights, and looks like in Cam's case in particular there, he's more than happy to take a moment there to relax, despite being on the pole. Or you hear something? Yeah. There might be the fact that, yes, the leaders jumped. Yeah, the safety car jumped onto the grid there for a second, and that's going to trigger the sequence a little early here. And looks like, thankfully, no one's caught napping as we get underway here, Reese.
All right, good start from Cam Dance to start things off. I did see a couple of cars start to roll backwards on the grid, but it looks like no one's picked up an iRacing issue black flag yet. Big oversteer moment for Matt Haywood in second, but he recovers it as Dan Stevens, Lindsay Hobbs and Dion DeGraaf sort themselves out at the rear of the field. They are through turn 1 onto Mountain Straight. Now the run up to Griffin's Bend. This is where the slipstream comes in already in these machines. Does anyone decide to go for a move here? Stead Miller decides to back out of it in his battle with Matt Haywood for second spot as they flick to the inside of the turn, take advantage of the camber on the inside of the corner. You don't want to be on the outside into that particular turn. Up then into the cutting. Who goes for a move here? Seems like the field has already spaced itself out, so no takers for the time being, but a defensive line there from Lindsay Hobbs trying to keep Dion DeGraaf behind him.
Keep an eye on that as these drivers will want to stay single file because they will get draft over the top of the mountain in cars like these, as you can see here. For the most part, as long as Hobbs can keep his eyes forward and try and push up back towards Dan Stevens ahead of him, that will be of great value to him here. As we come across McPhillamy Park for the first time on board there with Henry King in the Team Jing Shifters GR86 entry, and yeah, the Snake winds its way down the hill with looks like Hobbs and DeGraaf. Well, I think Lindsay Hobbs in particular, unfortunately, not really looking like he's up to pace there. It's quite the margin, which will now definitely leave them alone at the back of the field, because here you should expect these guys to will compress up back behind Cam Dance as they'll be dragged along. On board now here with Ben Christensen, Reese, looking back at Robert Henry there for our last spots in the top 5 for the first time down Commodore Straight.
Yeah, Robert Henry is one of the faster drivers in this field. He wasn't able to get a time on the board in qualifying, but taking advantage of the slipstream as that looked like technical issues for Ben Christensen just there. Into the chase, Henry pulls alongside, but will he be able to get it done? Round the outside at the chase. He's slightly later on the brakes, turns in, chops off the nose of Ben Christensen, and he is through into 4th spot.
Nicely done indeed. I think Christensen, willing to sort of try and attack that one reasonably hard, but at the same time knows that it's the early days, and moments like that allow you an easy way back through as wide of Henry. No, Stead Miller in front. Has Stead Miller had an absolute shocker that's completely caught Robert Henry out, because all of a sudden Ben Christensen gets 2 for 1 at Murray's, and you've got Troy Allen there maybe thinking about having at least one on Robert Henry there at Hell Corner. No dice that time through the first turn at least, and that just checks everyone from 3rd up on back now, and so they'll become a pack. We'll see here on the replay, focusing on Stead Miller. Reese, it's a little deep. That's a little deep, and I think Robert Henry just been suckered in there following Stead through the final corner.
Yeah, just a little. The battle continues into Griffin's Bend. This time Henry has the inside, which is going to give him the advantage. You saw Henry King there. He was trying desperately to keep himself to the inside, but he was right on top of the crown in the road. And he lost a lot of momentum. That means now that Troy Allen is going to have a go at him here into the cutting, but on the outside line, better to lift off and have another go later. These races might only be short, only 20 minutes, but this track demands respect. But no one told Robert Henry that, apparently.
My word, that is certainly ambitious up into... now, pardon me, I never quite remember which one of the first of the parks is across the top, is it? I'm being told Reed Park is the first of the 3. And you can actually see on my JRT track, Sulman Park is just after the Great. That would hopefully add up. I know McPhillamy's the 3rd one. Side by side. We don't see that too often, Reese, and that's going to be a tiny bit of contact, and somehow both of them, and Ben Christensen there and Stead Miller, stay pointing in the right direction as we make the return back down the hill here. This is just lap 2 of this race. We should have about 10 odd laps for this one here, and they're going at it like we're already taking the white flag for race 1.
Jeez, that was heart and mouth stuff there. You almost never see cars running side by side down the hill there, but Stead Miller and Ben Christensen gave it a red hot go, and evidently Ben's enjoying that. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any slipstream. Matt Haywood and Cameron Dance have jetted away from the rest of the field, and now the double draft for Robert Henry. He's going to have a go at both of them coming into the chase. Onto the brakes. Henry's very late. Can he pull it up in time? Oh, he has to give it a couple of stabs, but he does manage to get the move done. What a pack this is. Robert Henry now in 3rd place. This pack goes all the way back to 8th.
It's kind of crazy, really.
Oh, Henry spins! Oh, dear! Oversteer on the way into Murray's. Oversteer on the way into Murray's. I think he went a bit too deep and then hit the curb on the inside, which fully spun him around. So now Robert Henry is all the way to the back of the field. That's a real shame for him. I don't think he'll be able to really make any moves here because the slipstream's so important in these cars. If you have someone to draft with, you have the biggest advantage of all. Here is what happened. It looked like a little bit of a fake out there from Ben Christensen, and I think that spooked Robert Henry.
Just looking to defend aggressively, and yeah, dips the grass car. And so, yeah, I was surprised. I thought maybe there was some kind of awful contact there, but no, just getting pitched in off the grass there on the outside of Murray's. And as you said, up and on the apex curb, which we do not usually see recommended. And confirmation is, Stead Miller finds the wall massively on the run into the cutting, and that is the front right corner down and gone.
Yeah, that was with Troy Allen there. Allen was making the move up the inside into the cutting, and he was ahead at the time. But yeah, there just wasn't enough space for two cars side by side there. Miller heavy into the wall here. This is the onboard from him. He already had a poor run coming out of Griffin's, and you'll see Allen make his way past, and then there's the contact. It all happened so quickly. There wasn't much Miller could do.
No, just the tiniest bit wide, and then, yeah, as Troy Allen, as you said, they're going through, just unable to pull that one up. As see here, cars working their way down the S's once again through the dipper towards the elbow. Just our man in P2, Matt Hayward, had a little bit of a moment, but now eyes on the Team Jinx Shifters duo here. Christensen leads. That was trouble for Robert Henry in the dipper, and that is not going anywhere anytime fast. Stead Miller still trying to get his car back to the pits with his front right corner down. And I think Robert Henry, well, he's tried.
He's calling race control.
And he sure is. That car isn't going anywhere anytime fast. Parked up on the wall on the outside. There is technically a break in the wall behind him, but might still see the safety car deployed as King looks, but not close enough to commit to a move up the inside of the chase on Christensen for third.
Okay, so here's what happened to Robert Henry. Just a bit too hot into the dipper and hit the inside wall, played a bit of ping pong, and that's the right rear completely gone. These cars are rear-wheel drive, remember? So there's the safety car. Looks like that's going to be the end of it for this first part of the race. Now there'll be a small break period. The safety car comes out ahead of Matt Haywood, and I believe Cameron Dance is going to slow down here, let the safety car by. I wanted to mention Matt Haywood because I flicked to him briefly before we saw Robert Henry's crash. Haywood got the wall coming out of the dipper as well, and he also went off at the chase before the safety car came out. Here's what happened to him. Looked like could have been a bit better of a run in, but yeah, he was just too hot on the way out. So looks like that car is walking wounded right now. And to make things worse for Matt Haywood, the safety car has compressed the field together. So that's another chance for everyone from Ben Christensen on back to make a move.
Yep. Is that a happy dance from Ben Christensen at this stage? I mean, it's been one of his better results in the flat fours, if I'm not mistaken, here being P3 at the moment. Looks like a chance for some... yeah, that's what I call a happy dance. We've definitely seen Ben have his ups and, well, his downs in particular, it seems. In particular, Bruce Giacchini always quick on the trigger when things haven't quite gone his way at other times, Reese, and chance to see just that reaction. So this is, I guess, the other side of the situation. So we'll wait to see how long the safety car's out for, because Robert Henry's still... it's just been given permission to tow right then and there, so he'll clear the circuit. The 24 Stead Miller did get back to the pits, but I would suspect his repairs mean that he won't be back out for a while, as once again Christensen will blink on the broadcast and us and myself here too. Going to throw everything for a bit of a loop here, including timing and...
oh, goodness, and it looks like a couple of people are having issues out there at the moment. Apparently Cam Dance's Zoom feed froze as well, so that's potential trouble for our race leader in the Orbit Motorsports number 6. let's hope that everyone is able to maintain a stable connection to the end of the race, because it would be a shame to lose more drivers due to things out of their control.
Yeah, we don't want to. Well, we don't like to see that here. So fingers crossed, yes, everything does stay nice and stable. As we are about to get ready to restart the race, safety car about to pull away from your leader Cam Dance here on Conrod Straight. And we'll then hand over to Dance once that safety car hits the lane here. So just under half distance time-wise left in this race. We will probably knock a lap here as a result. Be down to 9 laps, I would say, for this one race, because 2 minutes 30 a lap, and we're coming down to 9 minutes to go here at the chase, and we haven't even restarted. This will take a little while before we go back green, I think. See here, does Dance go early and try and surprise the tow, or go late here, which will keep everyone pretty packed up, I would think, all the same.
Yeah, all right. Looks like potentially the apex of Murray's is when Cameron Dance is going to put the hammer down and get things going to end the first race here. And yeah, on the power he goes. Green flag flies. We are back to racing action here. And it looks like already the top 4 breaking away from the rest of the field. Christensen still suffering technical issues. He goes up the inside of Matt Haywood. Tries at turn 1. It doesn't work. And now looks to me like Henry King might have a go at him if those technical issues continue. Forget Henry King, though. How about Dan Stevens? He's just popped out there and gotten a mega run out of the first turn. But his confidence won't be quite what it could be with a blinking car up ahead of him. So he's just going to bide his time here versus Ben Christensen. He goes deep into Griffins. That allows Henry King back up the inside.
Yep, and actually Ben Christensen's killed the zoom connection to see if that stabilises things for him, as Haywood takes the lead off Dance on the run up to the cutting here on lap 5 of this opening race. So looks like for the time being the 47 Simblacks racing entry has not been too negatively affected and is able to use the slipstream still to his advantage as I climb the mountain once again here. See our top 2 starting to edge a small margin over Christensen. Touch wood, his connection looks to be a little more stable now, as we're going to go to a replay once again as our leaders crest McPhillamy, and this is why Dance has lost the lead race.
Yeah, righto. Little deep into Griffins, collecting the wall on the outside. And, I mean, you need as much momentum as possible for the straight between Griffins and the cutting. It's uphill, and as someone who's walked this track on foot in the real world, let me tell you, that is a steep slope. Any speed you lose coming out of turn 2 is going to ruin your lap. But looks like Dance has managed to hook up the rest of the lap coming down the mountain, and he is well within slipstream range of Matt Haywood coming onto Conrod Straight. Let's see if this is a move back into the chase, or if he decides to, again, bide his time and try and go for a move a little bit later. Haywood has been pushing hard, so we know that he's not entirely mistake-free, but evidently Dance isn't either. Which of them's going to take it here? Just enough room given through the chase, and Ben Christensen decides to make himself an element in this battle here as Dance goes deep, and he's off the circuit at the chase, manages to recover it on the grass and re-enter the circuit in 5th spot.
Wow, there you go, just a little bit off the line on the middle of the chase, and all kinds of trouble there for the lead driver of the number 6. So back down to P5 for Dance. Going to have to catch up to what is currently the top 4 of Haywood, Christensen, King, and Troy Allen, who's been able to move up there into the P4. As we have a look at Dion DeGraff a little bit further back, that looked like a bit of grass on the right rear. Reese, apex curb at the chase. Not too happy, that car, apparently, and around 90 degrees goes the Simblacks car, as that would have been Lindsay Hobbs taking to the grass behind him to avoid that one, as Stead Miller potentially there. No apologies. It might have... Oh, it's Dan Stevens directly... Oh, so Dan Stevens behind, able to go left. Hobbs has to jinx out to the grass to avoid him there.
That was so close. That could have been a much worse incident. Well, we have the lead battle well and truly on here. It's Simblacks versus 2 Jinx Shifters machines of Ben Christensen and Henry King. And, oh, Troy Allen getting into the wall as well. Alan's had a really good first lap after this safety car. He ended up making some very brave moves on that first lap, but unfortunately, momentum killed across the top of the mountain. This is where it happened. Exit of the cutting. Just a little dent there. Looks like it's only bodywork, though, so he should be able to continue after that. Meanwhile, two-way battle between Dion de Graaf and Lindsay Hobbs for 7th spot.
Yeah, these two unfortunately had their share of troubles now so far in this race, and a little detached from the rest of the racing action. Dan Stevens about 2.7 seconds ahead of de Graaf here at this stage, who himself was a little detached from the rest of the field. Your top 5 still pretty much hanging on. Troy Allen lost a little bit of margin on your top 3 of Hayward, Christensen and King. Cam Dance already all over the bumper. So see here, does Dance push Allen along or immediately go for the move and try and keep some momentum? And because you'll have slipstream off Henry King there too. At about 7/10 currently the margin, well nearly 8/10 I should say, between Allen and King. As Christensen looking for the lead on Matt Hayward, meanwhile at the front of the field. Christensen nose ahead, but round the outside here, Hayward deep under brakes there. He's going to hang on to the lead if he can just stay on the road, only just though through the chasing. Christensen starting to keep looking as Dance got through on the Dion de Graaf. Oh my word.
Oh, yeah. All right, the lead battle continues into Murray's. We'll check out what happened to de Graaf in a second, as that was a big slide there from Ben Christensen. He loses second to his teammate Henry King. What an entertaining race this has been so far. We still have 3.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, well, replay's going to be coming in split screen. We'll keep the live footage at the top of screen. And this is what happened to Dion de Graaf with Lindsay Hobbs into the chase indeed, as a tow request from de Graaf gets loose or possibly nudged by Lindsay Hobbs. And this is why I saw it. I was like, holy moly, because this car barrel rolls its way through the grass. Was that Fabian Coulthard back in the day in the Bundaberg car? Back in the 1000, would have been 2011 maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Very big incident there. Looks like the safety car hasn't been called. This is the initial contact. De Graaf got unsettled, I think, because Miller just grazed across his rear bumper. But there is no safety car for that one. De Graaf was immediately given permission to tow back to the pits, so we can continue racing for the last couple of minutes of this first race here. And have a look at Cam Dance. He's already made his way back up to second here. He has executed the fight back beautifully here. He made his way past Ben Christensen at turn 1, went past Henry King at turn 2, and now he's trying to climb back up against Matt Hayward for the win in race 1. And this is the penultimate lap right now. When they cross the line, it will be the white flag.
5 drivers all look like they're the ones with a chance to win this race. I suppose in theory you can't count out Dan Stevens if something absolutely calamitous was to happen here at the front of this field as well. So it's absolute bonkers here. We'll see. Dance should get a good opportunity down here at the chase now. He's only 3/10 off the back of Matt Hayward as they wind up to speed down Conrod. We'll see if he chooses to take that opportunity here. Already looking to the right side of the road as they crest the hill here on the straightaway. King drags along Christensen and Allen in this instance as Dance looks narrow. Hayward keeps himself somewhat narrow through the kink, parks it up in the middle of the road. So no way through just yet. And Dance trying to possibly switch back and forth, but it costs him a momentum out of the chase there. Henry King going to eye off the outside line for Murray's as your top 2. Park it down the middle of the road as we get ready for the start this final lap. King looking around the outside of Dance, forces the number 6 to cover the middle. Christensen going to try and make it a team jinx shifters sandwich here. Raises the white flag for race 1 in the air. And now Troy Allen going to get involved too. Maybe still 3 wide into hell corner as Christensen up the inside will take 1. And Henry King also, in effect, gets 1 out of all this too.
Right, so all of that jostling around between those guys has given Matt Hayward an 0.8 of a second lead now. Will he be able to keep that across the top of the mountain? Cameron Dance is still side by side with Troy Allen here and giving Ben Christensen a little bump draft here coming into turn 2. Looks like he's going to just back off and allow everyone else to fall into line here. Now the fight back begins again. Coming up into the cutting. What can they do? It's an uphill braking zone. You can push really hard into it, but Got to be careful of the wall on both sides. And now, once you're out of turn 2, it's going to be really difficult to make a move here across the top of the mountain. There's no space up here.
No, there isn't, and realistically they need to stay single file because this is the part where Matt Haywood is probably most vulnerable. Coming up the mountain, the toe is going to be even more powerful than it should be down the mountain, and you do not want to give Haywood in this kind of circumstance more advantage to work with when it comes to the actual straightaway here. So as we come across McPhillamy into Skyline, looks like our top 4 at least here, single file, margin closing between our top 2 as King is absolutely throwing the 52 all the way down the hill. It does close up the margin, but then expands a little bit on the run out of the dipper as a result here. Keep your composure. Focus on Conrod straight. Is Christensen walking all the way down through the elbows? King a little wide, almost in the wall. He slows up all of a sudden then on the exit of the turn. Has that actually crippled the 52 here?
It might have. He's losing a lot of pace down Conrod straight. It looks like he is done. Here comes Cam Dance.
Yep.
He might not be able to fight for the win, but he'll definitely be able to fight for second here. He's got to depend on Matt Haywood making a mistake at this point. Let's see who wins the battle for second here with 1.1 seconds the gap on the entry to the chase. Little bit of contact there between Dance and Christensen. They give each other just enough room. Matt Haywood already on the headlight flash. Coming to take victory here as it is yet to be decided who will take the second spot on the podium. Christensen on the inside, Dance on the outside. Christensen has the tighter line through the corner, but Dance has the straighter exit. It's a drag race, and it looks like Cam Dance is just going to get him.
He sure does, but the margin at the line, 0.25 according to iRacing's timing at the end of that 8th and final lap of race number 1. That is insanely close. And as you said, round the outside, just able to get that straighter exit earlier on to full power makes all the difference. And indeed, can confirm I quickly checked in with Henry King. Unfortunately for him, that tiny brush with the wall on the exit of Forest Elbow, you can just see it there from this trackside shot here, Reese. That right rear tyre is not attached to the drive shaft as it should be. And he was redlining it in top gear at about 130 k's an hour, unfortunately, for the 52 machine.
Yeah, broken rear axle, it seems. Well, let's run through the results here. Haywood takes victory by 1.7 seconds. Brilliant job there from Matt, with Dance, Christensen, Allen, and Stevens rounding out your top 5. Henry King will come across the line in 7th, just behind Lindsay Hobbs. DeGraff, Miller, and Henry round out your field, with Miller and Henry retiring. Now we flip the field for the start of race 2. There's what happened to King. That the wall on the exit of the Forest Elbow. You see that it's just knocked the rear right out of alignment, and there's nothing he can do to recover that. In any case, this is the field now for race 2. It is a full field invert for the second of our 3 races tonight. They're all 20 minutes. Question remains now, can Robert Henry get that win that he so desperately wants? He was very aggressive in race 1. Maybe he can afford to back off a little bit here in race 2. Let's see then as the timer ticks down to 0. And it will be Robert Henry who leads the field away here at the start of the second race. Lights out, we're away. That was a little bit of a slow start there from Robert Henry, and it looks like he's going to lose out to Stead Miller and Dion DeGraff, who's going to try around the outside of turn 1 here potentially. No, he does leave a little bit of room on the inside, but hey, Stead Miller didn't quite have the best of exits, and we already have a car off. It looks like Cameron Dance.
Doing a little lawn mowing in the number 6. Thankfully avoided the wall on the exit of Held Corner. So it means he'll be able to catch back up in due course. But eyes on the lead as DeGraff tries to hang on ahead of Robert Henry. Then you've got Henry King, and I believe next to him will be Dan Stevens at this stage. Yes, and then you've got Hobbs, Troy Allen, and then Christensen, Haywood, and Dance still at the back of the group here. So Stedmiller to look around the outside again. This didn't go well for him in race number 1, Reese. He's going to do it on lap 1 whilst everyone's on cold tyres to boot. And he's still there as they come up here. He's actually going to take the lead here, surely. DeGraff now going to have to concede around the outside here as we approach Reed Park. Nope. Gets it back up the inside as they then start turning left across the top here. We're too wide on lap 1.
Oh man, already a pretty chaotic start here in race 2 of the flat fours, but De Graaf is clear in the lead coming into McPhillamy Park, and it looks like
There it
Robert
is.
Henry is going to... Oh, there we go. Yep, that looks like Christensen around. It looks like Matt Haywood was involved in that, as well as Lindsay Hobbs. So they've fallen to the final 3 positions. Cameron Dance came sailing through to get back into 7th. Oh no, that's at the dipper. Stevens. Oh dear. Looks like that has taken out Lindsay Hobbs too. 2 cars stopped now. We might have another safety car to deal with here, and quite a bit to dissect on the replays. But for now, the race is continuing. Robert Henry still holding on to 2nd spot here with Stead Miller in tow. But Dion De Graaf has been the big survivor here of that first lap.
My word, just absolute madness. Yeah, we'll hopefully get a couple of replays as we're being told safety car, and yeah, I can see the safety car sitting in the pit lane. Just hasn't been reported over any of the in-game radios yet. So I get the feeling there it is, now mentioned as just as it's called. I look over and see that Robert Henry got his nose ahead for a moment, but he's going to concede that one back to De Graaf by the looks of things. So there you go. With the field neutralised, we hopefully will get a chance to start dissecting everything, starting with Ben Christensen and Lindsay Hobbs on the entrance to McPhillamy Park. That's where it all really seems to have kicked off, although at the same time it was 2 separate incidents, Reese, at the top and on the way down that completely broke this pack apart from this into absolute chaos.
Oh, okay. So it looks like Lindsay Hobbs just turned in for McPhillamy Park, but Christensen was there on the inside. And look at the avoidance there from Cameron Dance in the blue car. That was very good reaction times. Here's what happened to Stevens, meanwhile, coming into the dipper. It looks like...
Stead Miller a bit quick and then out of shape.
Yeah. And Stevens, in response, got out of shape himself, and there was a couple of heavy impacts with the wall, and there was nowhere for Hobbs to go, was there? I mean, Dance managed to get through, but looks like Hobbs had already committed to going straight through those corners, and he found an MFR car spread eagle ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm just also seeing from Taylor Oakes and from Cam Dance too. Yeah, actually, we can get on board with Cam. So starting here, you've got, so Christensen and Hobbs gets past 1 and 2 and then stay with it because he has to then negotiate Stevens around backwards once he gets down here through the S's whilst he's committed. And so then has to find the gap.
Wow. that was crazy.
And keep on going.
Our director Jay absolutely cacking himself in the background there. That's some of the best incident avoidance I've seen all season. He's watching the broadcast back on his phone to see how he did it. Oh lordy. Ah, man. Oh, this has certainly been an entertaining night of flat 4 action so far. That's really incredible. So Cameron Dance, after obviously not quite nailing the first race, has certainly nailed it at the start of race 2. He's managed to work his way up into 5th spot after starting in the second to last grid spot for this one.
Yeah, technically put himself back there with a bit of extra work to do running wide at turn 1 on lap 1, but now halfway back up the order and just has to try and be able to get things going, or keep momentum going, I should say, here in race 2. Looks like we're going to have about 14 minutes on the clock here by the time I get back down towards the restart lap here. But we're going to go back to lap 1 and just show you exactly what Cam did here. So just too quick, it seems. And yep, cold tyres at the rear. The 86 does get a little feisty at the start of races. And so that's what put him back at the rear of the field on that lap number 1, as the safety car has pulled away from the front once again, and we'll give control to Dion De Graaf here just about as they enter the chase, although we'll see if he goes early or late. Either way, really, the draft will keep everyone together if they also keep it nice and steady here on this restart.
So the Pagnian Advanced Simulation safety car is now in the pit lane, and it looks like Dion De Graaf It's already gotten going here. It's a very early restart here for the number 20. They're going to come into the final turn at racing speed as the green flag flies. Single file across the line. Once you're past it, then you can start trying to make moves. And it looks like Cameron Dance is already going to be facing a move here against Henry King, who pulls out and actually lifts off into the first turn to let him go. Probably strategic there, but Dance goes off at the exit of the first turn.
Once again, Cam Dance sort of demonstrating that he's not afraid to really hustle the car, but that does have consequences sometimes. He'll completely cover the inside line as we make our way up the mountain straight once more. It's only lap 3 of the race, though, mind you. At this stage, he's able to move over now to the racing line for Griffins. Is at the front of the field.
Contact!
Robert Henry's trying to go around the outside. Oh, the Kiwi sim racing car around the outside. And that's pinched the number 20 to the inside and sees... Oh, is there contact with Haywood and Christensen on the way to the cutting?
Whoa, all right. That's adventurous there for Dion de Graaf, having to try and avoid his teammate and Ben Christensen as well. So another huge incident there. Cam Dance has worked his way up the field into second spot, and here's what happened to kick all this off. Robert Henry ran the outside of Griffins. Yeah, just pinched de Graaf on the inside, and it looks like Dion was trying his best to get back going, but here comes Christensen. Look for the green car who goes up the inside, and that was contact between himself and Matt Haywood.
Talk about a parting of the seas almost there for de Graaf, as he's just trying to recover that car and get going. And as Christensen and Haywood crash in front of him, almost just split right as he got to them, so that they could open back up. It now means realistically we've got ourselves a 5-car race as we'll go 2 on board with de Graaf. And you watch, yeah, Haywood spits right, Christensen goes left, then.
Yeah, he's Moses. Oh, goodness. Fantastic. Here comes Cam Dance, though. Up into the chase. Doesn't have any slipstream there, having pulled out. Robert Henry can take the racing line into there. I think they're just going to try and play the long game here. There's still 11 minutes and 20 seconds of this race to go. And we've already seen plenty of mistakes throughout the field, racing a bit too hard. So I think if everyone just dials it back a little bit, they should be able to get to the finish cleanly.
It's a big if, apparently, at this stage. Everyone is throwing all caution to the wind. Just about each and every lap we get in these races as we start lap number 4. And my timing updates estimate this will be a 7-lap race as a result. That time through turn 1, Cam Dance finds the limit and doesn't go past it, as he'll use all of the exit curb but not lose any momentum to the grass on the exit of turn number 1. Goes outside here is the race leader, and Robert Henry covers the inside here, but I think Dance now probably need to consider backing out here. Certainly can afford to on that full. No, he'll commit. And he's going to keep enough of a nose in there and start pulling up ahead as they get to the inside for the cutting. Henry King going to try and follow through. Almost, not quite.
Yeah, but Robert Henry goes wide. That allows King to continue to try a little bit of side-by-side action. What all that's done is open the door for Troy Allen to have a go at Stead Miller at the rear of this pack, but they fall back into single file across the top. That little exchange has given Cam Dance 0.6 of a second versus the rest of the chasing pack. But how long will he hold on to that? They're still well within slipstream range for when they get to Conrod. They just have to maintain pace, maintain single file as well, because any side-by-side through this section of the circuit, that gap will balloon out to potentially 2 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see here that it's going to be single file through the S's and Dipper on this occasion, so I think that might be a slight truce potentially negotiated there, but at the same time, they'll fan out, so maybe a case of drivers just not quite getting their rhythm and their runs right, because you can also see the margin from Dance to Henry is apparently about a second as they start their run down Conrod Straight there. So it actually expanded all the way down the mountain, it seems. And as they now work their way in towards the chase, gap sitting at about 0.8 of a second between first and second. So despite the toe and all it gives, looks like advantage Dance on that particular lap. 4 now at least, though, with no real pressure from behind. I suspect Robert Henry will be eyes fully forward to try and reel back in your race leader as we're coming to 8.5 minutes to go. So by my numbers, when they're doing 2-minute 30s, we should be looking at somewhere in the order of at least another 3 laps. Should be 4.
Yeah, I reckon...
That should be
4. 4 laps to go. Yeah, that's my call as well. Of course, that might end up being less if we have another safety car. I mean, we've already had 2 tonight. There's every potential for a third one. Would it happen in this race, though? I'm not sure. It depends. I suppose if it's like 2 laps to go and someone has an off, then the safety car wouldn't be brought out because it'd mean that the race would finish under safety car, and the crew at Oceanic Sim Racing like to avoid that if at all possible. Double view here of the 2 Kiwis leading the way here. Cam Dance on the left, Robert Henry on the right. And, well, let's see how much ground Robert Henry can make up here on the run up the mountain. Out of the cutting. Looks like both of them got equally good exits. Henry's still going to have to keep an eye out for King behind because he had a really good exit out of the cutting that time by, and it's pretty much flat out across the top in these cars, which means, amazingly, you do get, I think, a slight bit of slipstream on the way up to Skyline.
Yeah, would not be surprised, yes, that in these cars, they've got just enough mechanical grip underneath them here that, yeah, flat basically from the cutting all the way here to Skyline, then try and carry as much speed over the top. And in this particular instance, I said Henry King was the best of the top 3 at the moment there, but looked like maybe a little too much speed carried over the top of Skyline there because he didn't, or struggled to pull it up a little bit into the dipper on that particular occasion there. That's about all the road you want to use on the exit of the elbow there, just the slight margin to spare, it would seem. Gap still at about 9/10 of a second as Dion de Graaf, well, that's not looking too healthy, and that's definitely worse than what it was when we last saw him, and he's now dropped off the back of the group some more. So, and yeah, also seeing lap 5, so it's happened just on this particular lap. So
the dipper.
Trouble.
Yeah.
Being told the dipper, and we'll get a replay to show it off anytime about now.
All right, so line in looked okay, but it's just the compression there. That's a huge hit. The compression through the dipper, it's very easy to make the car lose the rear end. It almost overloads the rear tires if you don't keep the wheels straight through the dip itself. So that's unfortunately what's put Dion de Graaf out of contention, and against all odds, he's going to stay out on the circuit and try and plug away to the finish. Here we go then. Battle for the lead continues with Robert Henry still within slipstream range of Cam Dance. Henry King, it seems, has backed off just a little bit, probably biding his time and waiting for these two to come together because, you know, looking at the past between Cam Dance and Rob Henry, they're both pretty aggressive drivers when the time comes, and they're not going to want to give an inch.
No, but at the same time, they've generally looked pretty good racing each other. As Stead Miller there in the background, I think, running a little wide, and indeed losing a spot to Troy Allen on the exit of turn 2. The left side of that number 24, sorry, GR86, a little scuffed up now. Hopefully that's not hurt his car too much, but it pretty much confirms this is now a 3-way duel at the front for the race 2 honours, unless you get a big one and somehow knocks all of them out here, because look at this, Robert Henry now inside of 4/10 of a second and approaching 3/10 of a second there, uses the curb as he comes onto McPhillamy Park there, so he keeps that foot, I'm sure, absolutely buried in the firewall to close the gap down. Through the dipper though, looks like Cam Dance of the top 3 here at this stage, Reese, the strongest car through there. Does get a better drive out, initial throttle it seems, because the gap then explodes up to 0.8 of a second by the time they're starting to make their way down the Conrod Straight here.
Yeah, it looks like Dance has gotten power down pat in the number 6, and he has just enough of a margin that Robert Henry can't get enough slipstream to really fight him on the way down Conrod, and even then the draft is broken as well with Dance running the defensive line down there. So let's see what the braking zone brings. Henry making up a little bit more pace there, but I mean, what do you do if you're Robert Henry? You basically just have to drive faster. I mean, it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah, getting pulled along, but it just means, yeah, these little spots, it seems, where it looks like Cam Dance has Robert Henry's marker beat are going to be important. Despite that, fastest lap of the race going to go to Robert Henry. That's how strong the slipstream is. But also, he looks really good here through Murray's and Hell Corner in particular. Those two 90-degree corners, simple as they may look on paper, but so critical to the lap, and also easy enough that quite deceptive and able to be messed up pretty quickly here. What it turns into is the draft up Mountain Straight, and the inside line is not defended by Cam Dance. He will try and hang it around the outside of turn 2 at Griffins, but no dice, and that's such a bad run for him. The Henry King going to get a nose ahead and be clear well before they make their run up into the cutting here on the start of lap 7.
So Dance from the lead down to third, but the podium pack is packed together like sardines here, and King himself goes wide through Reed Park, and Dance will slip back through into second. He's going to waste no time trying to pressure Robert Henry to get the lead back here. So the view on board from King, he's got the best seat in the house for this battle between the two New Zealanders at the front of this field. Across McPhillamy Park they go, keep the foot pinned to the floor through there in these cars, and Dance almost on the rear bumper of Robert Henry on the way down the hill. I mean, we did see some side-by-side there on lap 1 of race 1, but I would definitely advise against it in regular circumstances. Now, you mentioned, Dan, that Cam has the best run out of Forest Elbow here. He has a bit of a smoother line than Robert Henry, and I don't know, it seems like they're both pretty equal that time around. Maybe the extra pressure of being in the lead has forced Robert Henry to find a little bit more on the exits here, but Dance is close enough to get the slipstream into the chase.
Yeah, you have to say on that lane, the time where Henry was chasing Dance, yeah, he lost a lot of time in the dipper, it looks like, and then, yeah, there's a little bit more at the elbow. This time around, pretty even, but that toe allows Dance up alongside Henry here through the chase. I guess it was a dress rehearsal for what could happen next lap around. Dance retakes the race lead. It will definitely be the white flag here when they cross the line this time by to start lap number 8 of race number 2. Dance back in the lead. The question is, does he want to be the one that leads them here? Because he's almost certainly vulnerable to Robert Henry and potentially Henry King again as well. By the time they reach Griffin's Bend, this run up Mountain Straight going to be crucial, and he's a little wide of the apex was Dance. We'll see here what that does for the run, and there we go. The weaving begins at the front of the field. Goes left, then commits right, and Henry does not follow him into the toe there.
No, he doesn't. I think this is strategic here from Robert Henry. He's willing to stay behind Dance on the way up into Griffin's, because remember, they still have Conrod Straight in the chase to go. If Henry can have a clean run across the top of the hill, stay within about a second of Dance on the way out of Forest Elbow, then he will have the mother of all slipstreams down Conrod, and he'll be able to fight at the end of the lap. That's the thing. If you pass Dance into turn 2, then he'll just come back at you when you complete the mountain section.
Let's see here, they stay together, all three of them on the exit of the cutting, so they'll be even closer by the time we get up towards McPhillamy Park and Skyline on this final run of race 2. Dion DeGraff's had trouble on the exit of the elbow, trying to get his car back home. He is parked up, thankfully on the grass, so the track is clear when we get down to the elbow with our leaders, and he's been given permission to tow as well, so that will be completely cleared by the time the leaders get here. As they crest Skyline down the S's. See here who's got the best run through the dipper. And once again, Dance down the S's in dipper. Reese, look at that. He pulls a couple of car lengths on him.
Wow.
Gap up towards 7/10 as we approach the elbow for the final time here in race 2. And it looks like no response is offered by Robert Henry this time by.
Wow, that was a mammoth exit for Dance from the dipper. He's absolutely nailed that, and I think it's given him just enough of an advantage so he can keep the lead. And I mean, you see at Robert Henry's face, he's a little disappointed with that. You can't really fight Dance down the straight now. He'll be hoping that he at least gets a whisper of slipstream or Dance makes a mistake coming into the chase here. But looking at Dance's last few laps, it seems he's got that section down pat. On the brakes for the second last time in this race. And Dance gets a beautiful exit out of the chase. Henry gained back a little bit more time, but he is just not close enough for a run into Murray. So, one corner to go here in race 2 of the flat fours. And it's going to be Cam Dance who takes the race 2 win. Robert Henry second, and Henry King will cross the line in third place.
Potentially a fight for fourth, but it looks like Troy Allen will hold on ahead of Stead Miller. And that will basically round out our finishes. Matt Haywood is out on circuit still, as is Ben Christensen. I should actually, mind you, apologies. They're both still going, but they're a long way from the finish, although looks like this race clock will allow both of them to complete their final lap of the race. So that will do things here as we'll have a look on the replay. Unfortunately, Dion de Graaf, understeered, grabs the wall, and has that, it's broken the drive shaft, just like Henry King's, although insult to injury has been added there, it seems.
Yeah, rear suspension absolutely destroyed, and car just veered on him. That's a real shame there for Dion de Graaf. It's been a tough night for quite a few drivers so far. Cameron Dance, though, taking the win in race 2. Robert Henry in second, with Henry King rounding out the podium. Troy Allen beats Stead Miller by 0.6 of a second for 4th and 5th. Haywood will come across the line a minute behind Ben Christensen. That is almost a full lap time in some classes around here. De Graaf, of course, retiring on the final lap, but he'll still get classified for points. Lindsay Hobbs and Dan Stevens, unfortunately, retiring from this one. So, with that, looks like we have a little bit left for this race and a 1-minute warm-up. So I think a good opportunity for us to step aside right after we check out these weather conditions. It looks like a pretty cool track out there, partly cloudy, 13% humidity. So I think that's some nice conditions to be racing these cars in. We're going to take a breather here on SimSpeed TV for just a moment. When we come back, it will be the third and final race of the Flat Fours. You're watching SimSpeed TV, the V8SCOPS supports from Mount Panorama. We got all our support categories pretty much here tonight, and we still have one race to go in the Flat Fours here. Reese Gardner and Dan Yeaman with you with Jay Kennedy, bringing you these graphics, showing us the grid for this third race here. Cameron Dance and Robert Henry on the front row of the grid. Behind them, we've got Henry King and Troy Allen on row 2. Stead Miller starts in 5th alongside Matt Haywood, who will be looking for a little better here, having qualified on pole position for race 1. Ben Christensen and Dion de Graaf in 7th and 8th, with the field rounded out by the 2 retirees from race 2, Lindsay Hobbs and Dan Stevens. It is just about time to get things started here, Dan. Who's going to take the round win from here? Dance is definitely in the box seat for that.
He is, yeah, given the fact that when you look at the race results here, he's got the most consistent of the lot. Haywood has a win to his name, but unfortunately P6 in race 2 does him no favours. So let's see here who makes the best of it as we get the third and final race of the Flat Fours underway, fairly even at the front. Dance will get enough of a run there to cover off Robert Henry, but also just take the nice sweeping entry into turn 1 there in the middle of the pack. Stead Miller and Matt Haywood going at it on the exit of Hell Corner, and Haywood's runner on the outside will give him the place as they head up Mountain Straight. You got Troy Allen challenging Henry King as well for third. off that second row of the grid.
Yeah, looking interesting here for third place with Troy Allen now moving past Henry King. King flicks back into line as they come into Griffin's Bend, and there's a little bit of drama a little further back as Ben Christensen managed to get ahead of Dion de Graaf, and there was a little bit of contact made with Stead Miller as well, but the battle is on here for P3. Troy Allen has been gradually increasing in pace tonight, and he's finished fourth in both races so far. So let's see what Allen can do to try and fend off this podium position. Definitely one of the more consistent drivers out there tonight.
Yeah. I think Cam is ever so slightly... Well, no, Cam has not been consistent. He's happened to have had 2 good results, but that certainly only gives you a surface impression of what's happened here. Cam having to come through the field and making a couple of mistakes at times as we look out the back of your race leader here through the dipper one the first time through here, and once again just a little more under control and composed and able to make a margin back to Robert Henry, not as big as what we saw in other laps. Oh, Henry wide, he just kisses the wall on the exit there. Looks like that was about as far as you dare, because it hasn't hurt him like we've seen some other cars break their right rear suspension and drive shafts by getting the wall a little bit more substantially there on the exit of the elbow. Meanwhile, though, queuing up behind Troy Allen as Matt Haywood trying to charge back through the field here, Reese, as he eyes off Henry King's P4 position, and we'll get a nose ahead into the chase here on lap 1.
Yep, there we go. Haywood now ahead of King, and it looked like a slight mistake there from Troy Allen in the chase. He ran slightly wide and onto the grass, but he holds onto the position. He's going to have to leave the door open here, or is he? Barely gives Matt Haywood enough space to sling one up the inside into the final turn to end the first lap. And that little bit of side-by-side results in a great run by Henry King out of the final turn. He says, "Thank you very much, guys. I would like to take third place back."
There you go. Despite Haywood having the run up the inside for the final, gets in a little hot, as this is the margin that Robert Henry had to the wall. There was a gap there still, apparently.
Wow, only just. He did have to compromise his exit a little bit, as it's still side by side now between King and Haywood. Looks like Matt got an excellent exit out of the first turn here. Robert Henry and Cam Dance still jetting away out in front, but Haywood has the inside now for Griffins, and he manages to move past Henry King on the exit. Now Troy Allen fancies another look here, and look who it's brought in. Ben Christensen. Look for the green car. There he is. Just saw him there in the background. He is right in the midst of this. Oh, goodness. Yes, Henry King gets into the wall coming out of the cutting, and he is slow.
Not broken slow, though. I think that's just really badly hurt his run slow on that particular occasion. So it looks like there are some walls here on the mountain you can get away with. As you see, he just lap 2, cold tyres at the front, perhaps still understeering in behind Matt Haywood. Finds the wall. Troy Allen also does similar, but to a lesser extent. Thankfully, both cars still going in the forward direction and at speed, just momentum ruffled as they now all stack up behind Troy Allen. Now, as we go on board with Christensen in the number 9, going to turn around his third race here tonight as he tries to eye off the move there. Allen deep ahead. Yeah, that checks up de Graaf here a little bit. What can Christensen do with it here as he builds up speed for Conrod Straight?
Oh, he's got the mother of all runs out of Forest Elbow, but nowhere to go. Dion de Graaf and Troy Allen taking up all the available racetrack. That's Ben Christensen boxed in here for the run into the chase. And you don't want to go 3 wide into this braking zone. It is a recipe for disaster no matter what class you're racing in. So into the corner they come. Allen might have to give something up here. No, he's going to take the last possible opportunity to get on the brakes and first opportunity to get onto the grass, and ends up getting passed there by Ben Christensen and Dion de Graaf. Looks like Henry King is going to fly past him too on the way down to Murray's corner. Oh, that is a little clip of the grass there for Haywood. For de Graaf, sorry. My apologies. Goodness me. Positions are so jumbled up here in this race, I barely know who's who anymore. Christensen will get up the inside here into Hell Corner.
Yeah, he will. King eyeing off the spot too as DeGraff will find the grass with the right side tyres. They come together ever so slightly out of the corner. It hurts both of their runs. Allen's got nowhere to go this time. He'll bump onto the back of the bumper of the 52. And see here what happens as we get to Griffins. This is the fight for fourth in this race here. And this is the best it looks like they're going to get because they've already lost 4 seconds to Matt Haywood just by fighting each other on that lap there. Christensen throws it into Griffin's Bend to hang on to the spot and try and clear the cars behind him, but it just hurts his run as King and DeGraff side by side towards the cutting. You see here they can make it through, and DeGraff wanted to go inside of Christensen, but no space for him. Single file by the time they hit the apex of turn 4 finally, and it will be single file as they make their way up the mountain into a replay of Seb Miller further on back. Reese looks like trouble at the final turn.
Too fast.
Thankfully minor.
Yeah, gathers it up, and that results in minimal avoiding action having to be taken for everybody else. Christensen, meanwhile, Dion DeGraff, he was fancying a look up the inside of McPhillamy, and your reaction was pretty much mine too. You don't want to see someone trying up the inside there, at least at this point of the race. So Christensen,
last lap drinks.
Yeah. Christensen gets the run out of the dipper, and it looks like he's safe for the time being. But have a look at Allen versus King. Wow, this is interesting. Looks like Allen is going to keep the position there, but King definitely fancied a look past. Here's Cam Dance, meanwhile, in the lead of the race, and by 1.5 seconds. Now, it's about 1.5 seconds where you start feeling a little bit of extra slipstream from the car ahead. But I think at the pace these cars are going, you'd be looking at more of about a second back where the draft really kicks in. So I think the lead battle is non-compass for the time being. It's all about this battle here for fourth between Christensen and DeGraff. And also, don't forget about sixth all the way back to ninth here. 6th to 10th, sorry, with Allen leading King, Hobbs, Miller, and Stevens. This is the fight for the second half of the field.
Yeah, this is going to be important for these guys here because they're all roughly bunched together. Troy Allen's about 2 seconds off the back of Dion DeGraff now after fighting with Henry King down to the elbow on that last lap there. Is, well, speaking of fighting, DeGraff and Christensen almost, if not side by side now, for fourth once again. DeGraff will edge a nose ahead here towards Griffins, but he's on the outside. Christensen should be able to hang it here on the inside and keep the spots. And DeGraff keeps his foot in it, but that loses him a lot of momentum running wide, and that's going to be spot held on to by the number 9. You can see there for a second again, DeGraff thinking, can I get the inside for the cutting? No, you cannot, says Ben. Although, better run for the number 20, but with nowhere to go here. Reese, it'll just be a follow leader across the top again, you'd think. Then again, last lap we saw DeGraff try for the inside at McPhillamy. So, if we can, let's stay here and let's see what happens this time round.
Yeah, so defensive for Christensen coming into McPhillamy, and DeGraff is going to try and hold on around the outside. The door is open at Skyline. Is he going to go for it? Goodness! He sends Christensen a little wide, but that's not going to do much. Just due to the nature of the track in this section, if you try and send someone offline, you're still not going to be able to get past them.
All of that has brought Troy Allen from 2 seconds behind to half a second behind, which is nuts when you think about it. They were probably flat out, basically once they hit the cutting through to the entrance to McPhillamy at least, but that time fighting at Griffin's and across the top just evaporated 1.5 seconds of the margin they'd happened to have built. It does blow back out towards the second. As speaking of margins, your race leader in Cameron Dance continues to eke out some more as that's grass for Robert Henry on the exit of the chase. Matt Haywood in a happy little bubble of his own, it seems, as the rest of the field now starting to compress up behind Christensen and DeGraff now. So this could easily become 6 cars fighting over fourth here.
Yeah, and you see how aggressive DeGraff is being. He's trying everything to get Ben Christensen unsettled, but Seems like Ben is keeping his head calm and collected. Is there going to be a run up the inside into turn 1, though? Another little look from De Graaf, but again, Christensen just stays on line, turns it in, and puts the power down. You can see just how much Troy Allen and co are starting to catch up to them now with this level of hard fighting these guys are doing.
And yeah, it's just the penalty for fighting in these cars around this kind of a track where there's so much straightaway is immense. And as on board with Dan Stevens, who's, yes, last of the drivers running, but he's only 5 seconds, if not, it's almost 4 seconds down off Christensen and De Graaf. They're just heading up towards the cutting now. You can almost see them as if we get a clear shot past the rear mirror. 2 cars side by side. That's probably Christensen and De Graaf here. We won't see them for a bit now as we climb the mountain once again, but they're continuing to scrap. Troy Allen's now right on the bumper. Next up will be Henry King to now join what is 3 drivers fighting over 4th here on this occasion. Let's see. Christensen defensive last 2 laps. Middle of the road for a 3rd time as De Graaf has overlap, and this is what's going to hurt them a little, I think. Although De Graaf is further alongside. They're side by side contact this time.
De Graaf wisely backs out of that one. He's trying so hard to get Christensen unsettled, isn't he? But it's just not working. And if anything, it's worked out not too well for De Graaf, because that was almost a bit of ping pong played between the concrete walls. He's going to have to nail the exit here.
And he doesn't.
Unfortunately, no, he doesn't. And look at that. Christensen starts skipping away, and that's going to open up an opportunity for Troy Allen behind.
Let's see. It's going to be gradual here for Allen by the looks of things, but he'll get there right as we crest Conrod Straight and then have the time before the chase to make a move here as over the crest now. Loses the slipstream, does Allen, right as the cars start going down. As Robert Henry!
Oh, no!
Has he found
lost
the
the
wall
right front.
at the elbow?
I don't know.
Surely that's at the elbow. Although it's such a long way for him. Long time before he failed.
Yeah, it was at the elbow. He's gone the entire way down Conrod Straight like that.
Oh, man. So
Here
the
we
pits
go.
here will limp. And so we've seen cars break right rear corners as, we better stay on replay for Cannon and then go to Dion De Graaf at the final turn as that is a heck of a whack and immediately, collapsing. The front right corner goes. And, Dion De Graaf has spun at the last corner, but I don't know exactly how it happened. This is how. He solo spins it on the apex curb.
Oh no, it looks like he just got a bit too much curb on the inside and the car just started sliding on him. So potentially all of the dipping and diving that he's done over the course of this race has overheated those tyres, and we'll have to worry about that for the rest of this race. The battle still goes on, meanwhile, between Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller. We got Ben Christensen and Troy Allen fighting over 3rd, just up ahead of them. And leaves Cam Dance all on his lonesome in the lead of this race, nearly 8 seconds ahead of Matt Haywood.
It does. I mean, to me, with what we're seeing in these cars, it really, even to me, I'd say not so much a tyre thing, but even more a suspension thing with these cars, I'd wager, Reese, is that the way they're rebounding off these compression loads, especially when they're taking apex curbs and the like, it's just, the suspension is rebounding too violently and the tyre just doesn't actually get a chance to grip up. As we've had Henry King drop out of the server, I wonder if he's jumping over prematurely to the flat 6, unless I think he got caught up in everything with...
I get the...
he's had something happen to himself, or no, he's just come into the pits.
Yeah,
I think he's just had to...
he's had to
his
hop
admin
across.
hat. Unfortunately, take the racing helmet off and the admin hat's gone on.
Yeah, scheduling issues for the 2 events that we're running tonight. Flat 6s were almost going to start as we were completing this event. So Henry King, being the race admin, has decided to jump out and give the Flat 6s a grid hold so that we can get there in time to actually get you the start of the race. So we still have 5 minutes left here in the running for the Flat 4s tonight. Stead Miller versus Lindsay Hobbs. fighting over 5th position, and that looks like a much better exit from the chase for Miller.
It does, but limited opportunity to set a run up into Murray's, and chooses not to this time by at least. And saying that, apex curb for Hobbs kills his run. Miller's got nowhere to go, and it kills his run too. As a result, they will carry on those side by side instead towards turn 1. Hobbs will defend inside. Late on the brakes though from Miller. Can he get around the outside? Gets the gravel though and the grass. That should be enough to slow his roll and allow Lindsay Hobbs, back up the inside now on the right-hand side of your screens as we look back towards turn 1 on Mountain Street as the drivers ahead in Haywood, then Christensen, then Allen cycle on through single file as this might just be the battle to watch at the end of the race. And Dan Stevens, if they keep this up, he too will be dragged into it, and they will have, actually they might be down to, that's what the leader was, are we going to get one to go on this lap, or is it going to sneak a second lap in here? My timing and everything. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I think, because this battle shows no signs of abating, with Hobbs and Miller still fighting hard over 5th spot, and Dan Stevens starting to come into effect here. 2 seconds behind, and you never know, might end up being the magic 1 second that you need to pick up some slipstream here if these guys continue fighting as close as they are. Doesn't look like there's going to be much of a move here into the downhill section through the S's and towards the Dipper. But I think the drivers will be, for the most part, thanking their lucky stars that there's no big curbs through this section, because considering what's happened at Murray's now to 2 separate cars, the 86 just doesn't like giant curbs.
Nope, not in the slightest. So let's see here now at 0.3 of a second. This is right in the prime window for Stead Miller to get enough of a run to have a crack at Lindsay Hobbs at the time. By the time we get down to the chase, we'll see here, comes over the crest, is able to stick in the toe here, which will be critical as he builds the speed over the top of this crest. Now moves out to the inside, although it was quite the dart across, which means it might have scrubbed a tiny bit of speed off. And now late on the brakes, you saw he was late on the brakes at Hell Corner. Late this time again is Miller, but just the right amount of aggression there keeps it within the white lines and takes the lead off of Miller there. As with 2 minutes to go on the clock, I'm going to say that Cam Dance saw the white flag. We'll confirm for you here, as indeed, there we are, the shot at turn 1 looking down the front straight. Barney on the stand, waving that white flag for the final time here in the flat fours.
Yeah, and Cam Dance is already on his way up to turn 2 now. So this night of flat 4 racing will come to a close very shortly. Still some fights to be decided here, spaced out in the top 4 positions or so, but this battle for 5th is where it's at right now. It looks like Lindsay Hobbs has gotten the run on Stead Miller. Nice slipstream on the way into Griffins. There's no late defense from Miller, but there's no attack from Hobbs either. Looks like they're just going to bide their time and wait for Conrad Straight to get it done, or maybe just wait for the exit of turn 2 for Miller to clip the wall and lose all momentum on the uphill run to the cutting. Doesn't look like there's much space for Hobbs to get by. So they're going to have to wait once again for another good run, or will they? That's another slow exit from Stead Miller, and he's just keeping Hobbs behind him at the moment. They're going to run side by side through Reed and Sulman Parks. I tell you what, Dan Stevens will be looking at this behind and thinking, yes, please, I'd like to involve myself in this one.
Yeah, that defensive line from Miller through the cutting hurt him massively on the exodus. Again, Hobbs not quite to the extent that what we saw from between Christensen and De Graaf through there, but at least challenges Miller for a moment, who's then in very deep down the S's, but he does get it pulled up about right, it seems, and Hobbs deep. Hobbs finds the wall and he breaks the right front suspension. That will see him struggle back to the end of the lap here, unfortunately. Dan Stevens promoted up into position number 6 as a result, and Stead Miller will have been given a reprieve, but at the front of the field, he edged out the margin all race long, and then unfortunately Robert Henry basically gift-wrapped it to him here, but Cam Dance has just one corner left to negotiate here in the flat fours tonight, Reese, and looks like This time round, that will be no major issue for him. 2 wins and a second place finish to him. That will seal up his night of racing and another round win to Dance in the Orbit Motorsport machine.
Lovely job there from Cam Dance. Managed to stay out of trouble. Matt Haywood as well, despite a bit of a patchy performance in race 2, manages to recover to second. Congratulations there to the Sim Blacks driver. And Ben Christensen gets on the podium for the second time tonight. Troy Allen, 4th place in all 3 races tonight as Lindsay Hobbs tries to limp that car to the finish. Dion de Graaf also slow there too. I think he was already lap down there. No, actually,
that was for position.
Is that a problem? That was for position, yeah. So a problem for de Graaf on the exit.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Lindsay Hobbs, when your right front suspension is broken, the car does not particularly appreciate turning left, and practically all of the turns left from Forest Elbow to the end of the race were left-hand turns, so that spot will be taken back without further issues there for de Graaf by the looks of things. So final results for, well, provisional results, I should say, for race 3 are certainly not final because there will potentially be race control decisions that need to be considered here. But Dance from Haywood from Christensen, your top 3. Troy Allen and Stead Miller around it, your top 5, and Miller able to therefore get ahead of, or stay ahead of Dan Stevens there. In the end, unfortunately, Stevens not able to put the pressure on right towards the end. De Graaf issue for him will wrap that race up in 7th place. Lindsay Hobbs, as we saw there, able to limp it home in 8th, with both Henry King and Robert Henry retiring from that 3rd and final race to round out our starters and finishers for the Flat 4s. Well, that'll do us here for the opening half of the night's action, Reese. But if you're watching us here live, don't go anywhere because we've got the Flat 6s coming away here from Mount Panorama for the V8SCOPS supports after this short break.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV. The V8SCOPS supports for 2023 coming to Mount Panorama. We have finished with the flat fours action. Now let's add 2 cylinders and put the engine in the rear. It's the flat sixes, Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars going for it at Mount Panorama for 2 13-lap races tonight with a full field invert for race 2. Reese Gardner and Dan Yeaman with you once again, checking out this circuit. Dan, in the flat fours certainly provided some entertainment. The flat sixes, they have quite a bit more speed though.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a bit of a crazy start for many parts of the racing action. So we hope to take the good parts of what we saw and keep them going. Maybe we'll dispatch of some of the parts that were a bit crazy that made things a bit rough for a couple of drivers in flat fours. When it comes to the racing here in the flat sixes, we've got 12 drivers looking like they're going to be starting this race here tonight. And speaking of which, we can start walking through the grid here with a Blackout Motorsport lockout of the front row. Dylan Shepherd up front, just ahead though of Ben Peterson alongside him for second place. Row number 2 going to be headed off by Tyson Broad, joining the field tonight with Matthew Deere alongside him in 4th. Those 2 drivers there a little further on back lap time wise. That's going to be Harry Dodds, Simon Zoma out of P5 and P6, with 7th place going to Taylor Oakes. Alongside him will be Craig Mason on the 4th row. We then Peter Pavlovich and John Courtney around at your top 10, and our final 2 drivers who will start this race being Anthony Green and Cameron Dance. Dance having to jump across from the flat 4 server, meaning didn't get a chance to set a qualifying time. Unfortunately, the flat 4 racing there just going a little longer than expected. Reese, usually he would get time to jump into the qual server as normal.
Indeed he would. That's your Zoom wall for tonight. That's Cameron Dance and Simon Mazzomo on the top row. Down the bottom, we have Harry Dodds. My apologies for that one. Getting ready to go here. Harry Dodds has certainly had an eventful last few days. Let's see if it works out any better for him here as the revs rise. And we are away for the flat sixes here at Mount Panorama. Good start by Shepherd and Peterson, but a slightly better start for Tyson Broad, who takes the inside for turn 1 and tries to put a move on Pedersen. They almost lock wheels on the way out of the first corner. Other than that, looks like a pretty clean start for everyone, Dan. Now we see who wins the race into turn 2.
As they work their way up the hill here, indeed. Speeds rising here. This class are going to be certainly a little bit faster indeed. Broad trying to find a way past Peterson. No dice, and the tyres run wide as get through Griffins for the first time. Going to be very cold front tyres as the 216. Peter Pavlovich looks to be slowing around backwards at Griffins, and he's got a serious chunk taken out of the bumper as he flicks around, and that is, unfortunately, I would think, a sign that something's not quite gone right for him there on the open.
Yeah, and Cameron Dance had something to do with that, unfortunately. Our first replay of the race is certainly going to be an exciting one. Cameron Dance, way too late on the brakes coming into turn 2, just tagged the back of Pavlovich. It didn't look like really heavy contact, but it was just enough to spin him.
Yeah, that's not what we like to see by any stretch of the means, as they wind their way down through the dipper for the first time. Looking here at Zomo, who's sitting in the mid-pack at this point. P5 for him to be precise as they come down through the elbow. And that's Tyson Broad in front of him now. All of a sudden behind Matthew Deere and got the 954 all over the back of him as they build up down Commodore for the first time. Has to be careful not to get too close and get things messy. These two have a history after a year-long season in the AOG Porsche Cup, and then a season again, start the year off. Well, actually, we're running a different class, I should say. Yeah, in 2022, they fought back and forth like tigers, so back to do it once again, but Broad looks to have taken the L
Dodds
on this battle, and Harry Dodds indeed challenging around the outside of Murray's.
Yeah, but the outside line around Murray's doesn't quite work as well in these cars as it does in the flat fours. So Harry Dodds now eyes forward and trying to take advantage of that fight between Tyson Broad and Simon Mazzomo, who, as you mentioned, no strangers to each other. There's more cars in this fight too. We have Craig Mason and Taylor Oakes just trailing behind at the moment. So now here's Mazzomo guarding the inside for Griffins. Moves over a little bit on Broad, who goes round the outside into turn 2. But again, the outside line isn't where you want to be, and he catches the curb and spins. Dodds gets into him and turns him right around.
Oh, dearie me. Promising start, quickly going backwards for the 25. And now buries him right down the order there for that one. We'll have a compulsory pit stop, and who knows, we may get that safety car period that allows him to get back into things, but it's not the start he wanted or needed, and so now going to have his work cut out here as we check back in with Mazzomo, Dodds, Mason and Oakes, 4th through 7th now on the road as they head down the hill on lap 2.
Yeah, top 2, Dylan Shepherd and Ben Peterson have flown away and just fighting amongst themselves for the time being. These are the conditions that they're racing in, pretty much the same conditions as they were at the end of the night for the flat fours. So I think there should be a good amount of grip available out there for the drivers to take advantage of. Mazzomo still holding off Dodds. Unfortunately, Broad has fallen all the way back to 9th, and that's behind Cameron Dance. And those two drivers incredibly quick. We'll see what they can do as they pop up over the hill in the background to get further towards the front of this pack, as Mazzomo will probably be looking in his mirrors a little bit more now. Dodds right on the back of him. And when they come across the line, we'll compare lap times. This is really the first proper lap that they've had at racing speed. So across the line, Matthew Deere in 3rd sets a 2:07.043. It's a 2:08.1 from Simon Mazzomo as we see that someone is in the pits, and looks like it's Cameron Dance.
Yeah, going to opt to get his compulsory stop out of the way early. We'll see, hopefully, if that works out favourably for him in the next little bit, because of course that will be important to see here if he can make his way forward on fresh tyres, but also maybe reliant on a safety car now to really turn things around for him. He's the only car that opts to take the compulsory stop this early in the race. Even drivers like Peter Pavlovich, who are damaged and at the back of the field, they're carrying on as they were.
Right then, Simon Mazzomo across the top of the mountain. He's had a nice clean start so far. Let's see if he can maintain it through McPhillamy. Try and stay off the curb in these cars because it will spin you around, and you've got to take a lot of care coming down the hill in these things. There's no anti-lock brakes like there are in the flat fours, so you won't have any electronics to save you if you lock up, as Cameron Dance found out the hard way on lap 1. Peter Pavlovich being the main victim in all of that. Looks like Dodds has just gotten a slightly better run out of Forest Elbow than Mazzomo has, and is sticking in the slipstream. Remember that Dodds was about 3/10 faster on the last lap than Mazzomo was, so despite the initial stressful start for Harry Dodds, he's gotten right back on the pace.
He has indeed. We'll keep an eye on him. Yeah, as apologies, I'm actually trying to fix something in the background. The Tyson Broad's paint, apologies. That usually isn't an all-black Porsche Cup car that he runs. But yeah, good scrap there, hopefully, for fourth brewing there between Mazzomo and Dodds. But also, yeah, the fight, well, not fight at the moment, but our two Black Motorsport OPR drivers in Dylan Shepherd and Ben Peterson, they are holding steady at the front of the field at this stage.
Yeah, it's a proper steady race from Shepherd and Peterson right now. Lap times between Mazzomo and Dodds, once again, they're close, but this time the advantage went to Mazzomo. He was 0.2 faster than Dodds. So at the moment, as the tyres come up to temperature, and they do take a little bit to come up to temperature in these cars, seems like Mazzomo has been the one to get them up to temperature a little bit quicker, and a little micro slide there on the exit of the cutting probably tells the story of how that happened. Dance has not come out of the pits since he came in. We're hearing that he has a mechanical black flag, so evidently that incident that we saw was not quite the end of Dance's dramas. The battle for the lead is closed in, though. The One Performance Racing Blackout Motorsport cars of Peterson and Shepherd now having a lovely little race together at the front.
Yeah, they can afford to race each other at this stage because there isn't a huge amount of pressure, as it were, just yet. Matthew Deere at 4.5 seconds back at the line, and now down Commodore, it's up to 5 seconds. So, yeah, that's telling. But, at this stage, things are looking fairly calm and ordinary here between our top two. We'll see if Peterson makes a proper stab at things, or if they try different pit strategies here at all, or if they're happy and willing to work line astern, at least either in race 1 or maybe even through to race 2. They will have their work cut out with a more substantial field invert of everyone. Once again, they'll have to do the compulsory stop rigmarole as well, but looks like at this stage no one taking to the lane. Everyone happy to keep running in this race.
Yeah, and remember the incident that we saw on lap 1 for Cam Dance? Well, this is why it happened. So he gets on the brakes too late, locks up, tags Pavlovich, and then bam, into the tyre barriers. So that completely destroyed the front left suspension of the car. Of course, the 911 GT3 Cup is another one of the cars on iRacing that has its new damage model in effect. So hits like that will certainly affect more parts of the car than they did under the old damage model. Drivers have to be conscious of that. It was just unfortunate for Dance, really.
Yeah, I've also been just, well, whilst I'm trying to fix up Tyson's broad paint, he's had a moment and he's grazed the wall with the left rear, and I'm feeling like I've seen him have a couple of slips and slides. That might be a little more substantial, because here we go. Oh no!
Oh no, that is a bad spot there. He's off the racing line though. Oh, now he's back on it. Okay, get it going, Tyson. Easy. Looks like you're alone on track at the moment. Has he stalled it? Either that or he's going to have to wait for these cars to come by before he gets back going. There we go.
Just patient. Thankfully, just patient.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Doing the right thing there. I was a little bit impatient for him to get back going because I figured there'd be space, but I don't have access to the F3 black box, and well, that was where the trouble started for Broad. Looks like that car's just dealing with a lot of instability right now. Don't forget that Broad had an issue earlier on in the race, and I think he's been dealing with some slight damage to the rear since then.
Oh, and yeah, he's trying to get it back to the pits. I really feel, yeah, he's been slipping and sliding around most of the race. Now it feels as though has copped several bits of damage in this one, and now it is compounding as he tries to get this thing to the pit. Somehow not picked up a mechanical black flag yet, so if the car is remotely comfortable to drive after the pit stop, he could theoretically still do so, but I would hedge my bets on that not being the case.
Well, here are our leaders. Dylan Shepherd, chased by Ben Peterson, and they've been trading lap times very nicely. Peterson has the fastest lap of the race, 206.019, but Shepherd was the fastest car on track last lap, 206.42 versus Ben Peterson's 206.6. So I think the blackout pair are controlling the race very nicely from this point on. We still have yet to see many others take their mandatory pit stop. At the very least, Tyson Broad has just made his way into the pits after the issues we saw him experience just before. So I think he'll be getting a few repairs done in that number 25 machine.
He also shut the limiter off as he was coming in there, which is a little interesting. So he actually picked himself up a speeding on pit lane penalty.
Dear, oh dear.
Not quite sure what the intention of that was, but I get the feeling he might be in there for just a wee while. Meanwhile, Cameron Dance has come out of the pits despite being several laps down in this one, so he will press on despite being 3 laps short. We'll see, presumably, if he'll feel circuit to the finish, but yeah. Otherwise, still no takers to the pit lane as we're approaching the halfway mark in this race. Undercut can be dicey in these cars, especially with the way that these cars really struggle with front end grip on cold tyres. If you take fresh front tyres, a quick replay here is this is what going to Tyson Broad. So he gets it. This is the thing. It was weird. He got it down to the pit speed limit race, and then he's just gone. What the heck? Any second now. Come on, Tyson. Prove me right. Thank you very much.
Oh, no. Yeah, righto. I think he just wanted to get it over and done with, put himself out of his own misery potentially. But, well, aside from that, we haven't seen Broad re-emerge from the pits. I think he is done for this race as well. That's 2 retirements that we've had from this one so far. Interestingly, Peter Pavlovich in the other Pacific Esports, in the Pacific Esports racing car, still out there on track at the moment. You still see the battle scars from when Dance clipped him on the first lap, but he's managed to stay out there, and he will likely get a position now over Tyson Broad. Here's Simon Mazzomo, meanwhile, chasing down Matthew Deere for 3rd spot. Mazzomo, once again, has been one of the classes of the field in terms of lap times, if you're talking about anyone outside the top 2. And he's having a run at 3rd place now. Matthew Deere, remember, started in 4th, and Mazzomo started in 6th. So both of these drivers have proved that they have a little bit more to work with on race pace than they do on a run.
And yeah, that would check out to me. I mean, this is a car that you have to be a specialist in the car when it comes to qualifying it. The fact the tyres are nowhere near their best for a couple of laps after you head out on a qualifying or a race run, and there's also a particular technique into warming the cars up if you're in a qualifying situation. You can afford to play around a little bit there. Means that as you put the laps down, as long as you manage the car a little bit in the opening couple of laps and you just don't do things like get your little slips and slides and brake locking as well, you'll be in pretty good shape. There we go. Matthew Deere and Harry Dodds both in the background there. Going to be our first takers of anyone near the front of the field to the pit lane. So let's see if the undercut can work for both of them. This is going to be the gamble. And looks like also Craig Mason following in these two. So make it 3 drivers into the pits. As meanwhile at the front of the field, Dylan Shepherd has continued to put the hammer down, has breached the 2-minute 6 barrier here in race trim.
Shepherd looking fast, definitely the one to watch for the victory tonight in race 1. Did you see Harry Dodds' pit entry, by the way? He absolutely nailed it, and he gained a few car lengths on Deere. So considering how the pit stop might go for Simon Mazzomo, I reckon it's going to be once again a 3-way battle for 3rd on the road once the pit cycle is done. Deere completes his pit stop, Dodds completes it too. Check this out. This is how you do a pit entry at Mount Panorama. Negotiate the little S-bend on the way in, the slight chicane, and then carry some speed, and he just slows down in time for the cone. You see how much he gained on Deere there?
It was, as you said, pixel perfect, a textbook entry, making maximum use of things. And even, let's see here actually the comparison between Deere and Dodds. Actually, faster time stationary for Matthew Deere. Actually, that might have just swung things back the way at the 116 versus the 981 on that one. So close, but not quite there for Harry Norwood. Yeah, for what he made up on the way in, unfortunately may have lost it there with being right on the marks perhaps there for him. As see how he goes. You can see car a little squirm. I mean, they're squirming around a bit here on cold tyres, to be expected. See here. Because you wonder now what tyres might he have taken. Has he gone left side tyres? Has he gone rears? Has he gone fronts? Or maybe right side tyres if there was some kind of weird gamble with the way that the tyre selection works here at the mountain. But right on board and watch the speed down Conrod Straight here, Reese. Saw from a Zomo earlier, I think it was, about 280 kilometres an hour with a bit of draft. Let's watch it here with clean air for the 981.
All right, up into sixth gear then, and the speed continues climbing. These cars should reach about 270 k's an hour on the way into the chase, and it looks like it'll be even more than that, 277 on the way into the braking zone. Very nicely done there from Harry Dodds. It seems like the speed has come back to him a little bit, but Deere evidently has had a slightly better outlap despite passing Anthony Green.
Yeah, had to negotiate the 308 there into the chases. There we go. Peterson, whilst we were looking at these guys in the mid-pack, has been the next one to come down to the lane. He would choose to undercut Dylan Shepherd for tyres here from our top two. Let's see how he can switch them on here. And you can see immediately goes to a weave before he gets to Griffin's Bend to try and get a little bit more lateral load through them and help warm them up a little bit quicker. Because this will be critical. Was in behind Shepherd by about a second or so, maybe even out towards 1.5 seconds before he pit. He's got to have a perfect outlap and hope that maybe Shepherd's tyres have just gone past their peak and will start struggling. Being told.
Oh, yeah. Is that weaving or potentially oversteer over the top of the hill? Not sure. But Harry Dodds finally gets past Anthony Green. Had to have a couple of goes at it and has lost further time to Matthew Deere as a result. So, unfortunately, that almost perfect pit entry has not paid off for Harry Dodds.
Yeah, no, and getting stuck behind Anthony Green up into the cutting definitely hurts things out, as Dylan Shepherd will not test the pit stop, the tyre difference much more than a single lap. He brings it down onto the lane nice and calm there for the 43. So we'll see in the background, or watch the timing tower, I should say, if Mazomo chooses to stay out. He will indeed, and we'll go on board with the 954 to confirm that for you there. So he'll take the race lead for a lap as Shepherd comes on in. There's Peterson leaving the chase as Shepherd has just started his pit stop. So I would think, based on all of this, that again, the 43 all the way up at the end of pit lane should still come out fairly comfortably ahead. And about half a second difference to Peterson's stationary time in the box. And yeah, comfortably clear.
There we go. Nicely done. Already weaving. Apparently Tyson Broad was speeding in pit lane so that he could get his dinner. Well, I suppose that's a reasonable thing to do if you've had an unfortunate run like Tyson Broad has had in this race. Hopefully he'll be energised for race 2. So, out of the pits Peterson has come, and he waits for the tyres to get up to temperature, but as you can see, the gap has extended a bit now for Dylan Shepherd through that pit stop, despite being about half a second slower through the lane than Peterson was. So I think that really speaks to potentially the power of the overcut that Dylan Shepherd had. He still had tyres that were up to temperature, whereas Peterson was struggling a little bit on tyres that were still a bit cold.
Yeah, this is the lap, if anything, where perhaps Peterson can maybe make back a couple more tenths. But yeah, coming from the lead of the race with a margin and then overcut in a car that favours an overcut by the looks of things, yeah, no real surprises that Shepherd extends his margin that he had as on board Mazomo, lap 10 of the race, and that's a look to the pit lane, and indeed will commit, and no surprises there. Only going to be 3 laps to go when he crosses the line here at the start of the pit lane. So we need to get the pit stop done soon, and that way get more than just a couple of laps on these tyres. And besides, we're almost at the point where they have to come in. They've only got about one more lap, as Taylor Oakes will dip wheels in the grass there on the way in. We'll get it pulled up, though, nice and tidy and at the end of it all for the pit lane. And they, apart from John Courtney and Anthony Green, are our last two cars to pit in this one so far. Is on board with Courtney. He's got Harry Dodds right behind Reese. Courtney able to get across to the pit lane without any further issues there.
Mazomo is off the jacks, and at this point, it actually looks like he's going to beat Matthew Deere and Harry Dodds out of the lane. Look at that. That is the power of the overcut demonstrated right there.
That's important to note there. Quite comfortable margin now for Mazomo on Deere, and also critically, you look at the stationary time. In fact, pretty much 2 seconds ago, the 2 seconds of the overcut comes down to perhaps the difference in station. That really says a lot to me that, drivers like Mazomo, Peterson, and Shepherd, as well as Taylor Oakes, they knew exactly what tyres to take to minimise the stop time, because there is a bit of variation as to which the time it takes depending on the tyres you choose here as well. Looks like that's worked out in Mazomo's favour. He will lose a bit of that margin, it seems, here as he gets back up to speed and temperature, but I would think that margin is enough as long as he keeps it steady to be without any issues at this stage. It's back to the front of the field. Yeah, gap down to under 2 seconds. So now that Shepherd went long, he lost a bit of his margin, but still looks comfortable there at the front of the field.
Yeah, Shepherd's still in the lead by 1.9 seconds, and we still have to wait for when they come across the line to see what Shepherd's pace out of the pits actually is. Mazomo versus Deere, meanwhile, looks like things are actually starting to gear up a little bit. Mazomo is weaving down Conrod Straight to try and get those tyres heated back up, and Matthew Deere is closing in on him.
You might want to go back to the entry to the elbow to see how it happened. One hell of a lock-up from the inside front of Mazomo's car, and he completely shot past the apex and had to really pull it up in a pretty messy way, to say the least. And there at Murray's, a lot of steering off just to try and get that thing to turn in to the corner. As we'll get it here on replay and watch the smoke trail from the left front here.
Yep. That is the cliff of tarmac going into a very cambered left-hander. Inside left tyre has a big tendency to lock up there, and Mazomo's trying desperately to heat those tyres up again, or at least stabilize the temperature across them, because Matthew Deere is hunting him down now. Mazomo defensive coming into turn 2, and you see that Deere is continuing to make up time. He's in a beautiful rhythm right now, and I feel like third place still very much up for grabs here in the last 2 laps.
See, they actually got on the headlight flash, the 2 little blue LEDs on Deere's dash, and again on the exit of the cutting. So he has to be careful here that he's not allowed to do this too much when it's fighting for position. There are particular rules around headlight usage for V8SCOPS in general, and those rules trickle down to the support series here. You can use them to indicate when you're coming up on a car that needs to observe blue flags. You can't really use them much when it comes to racing on the car for position. Part of the etiquette component of the rulebook as it were here. So big tyre smoke cloud they drive through, but no sign of anyone, because really it
was Peterson.
Big lock for Peterson. Okay, and he just dropped a good into 2 seconds.
He got into the wall too. He managed to keep going. Apparently we have another incident as well. So let's see what happened here to Craig Mason. This was at McPhillamy. That was a bit wide. And Cam Dance coming in, and oh God. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, Mason very slow there. Maybe trying to intentionally give the spot to Dance, but
yeah, maybe.
Mason on the lead lap, Dance still 3 laps down, so it doesn't quite make a lot of sense apart from seeing more about just giving the track space, as it were, in that. We'll go to one final replay here. So this is, Peterson by himself. Oh, the rear gets away from him on the way into the elbow, and then he rides the wall down into the corner proper. So, don't see that all that often, but there you go. That's someone running their brake bias very much rearward. As we go back to live pictures, white flag for the first time in the flat sixes here, and Mazomo is going to commit to the white line inside defence here at Griffins. As long as he pulls this one up here, I don't think Deere will have a way around the outside. These cars are a little bigger than the flat fours that we just saw earlier, so the outside of Griffins a lot harder to pull off in a car like this.
Yeah, Mazomo continuing to defend the inside into the cutting, but man, post-pit stop, especially since Mazomo's unfortunate lockup, it's looking like Deere is the most stable driver in this battle. So let's see what the run across the top of the mountain is like. Mazomo seems to be gaining a tiny bit more time across the left-handers past McPhillamy Park. I've been at that exact location, a beautiful spot to watch cars from. Down into the dipper they come. Who gets the better exit here? Looks like Deere might just be gaining a tiny bit again on Mazomo. This is where Simon had his lockup, and Deere has a look up the inside into the elbow, carries the speed into the corner, but doesn't carry it out. Grazes the wall on the exit. Now for Conrad straight in the chase. Who's going to win the battle for third here in the flat sixes at Mount Panorama? Deere in the slipstream now. All he has to do is nail the braking. The draft doesn't seem to be as strong as he wants, though. The checkered flag is about to fly up ahead as Mazomo goes defensive into the chase. I think that might just do it. Dylan Shepherd's going to come across the line to win race one here. Peterson across the line for second. It's a blackout OPR 1-2. And Mazomo will defend from Deere into Murray's. And it looks like that is going to secure the 9.5 SimSport driver third.
Yeah, close, but just able to pull it off. And that, well, overcut can get you the gain early on, but that is a bit of the risk that comes with it. The territory, you might be vulnerable in the final couple of laps. Taylor Oakes will be across the line in P6. Harry Dodds made it through in the gap between what we saw there between Mazomo and Deere, and here in the 313. And then from there, it's going to be John Courtney, Anthony Green, and Peter Pavlovich, who are all coming down Conrad Straight. They'll be our last finishes, unfortunately, there. That's a rough-looking 216. Punched in bumper, missing the driver's side wing mirror. In saying that, though, I think that's actually the extent of the damage there for Pavlovich's car. It looks like he's on track to finish 9th. Courtney and Anthony Green just ahead will come across the line 7th and 8th to round out our finishing drivers here in race one of the flat sixes. Unfortunately, 3 retirements, it looks like. We'll get to those in just a second.
Yeah, indeed we will. Across the line, Peter Pavlovich comes. And this is how things ended up at the end of 13 laps. Dylan Shepherd and Ben Peterson, 4.3 seconds between them, with Mazomo completing the podium just ahead of Matthew Deere. Harry Dodds, another 4 seconds back, with Taylor Oakes and John Courtney rounding out the top 7 cars. Green and Pavlovich, the last finishers. Unfortunately, Craig Mason retiring late after that interesting incident that we saw with Cameron Dance. And then in 11th spot, Cameron Dance with an unfortunate incident early on and a mechanical black flag. Tyson Broad confirmed retirement, speeding to his pit box so that he could get some food in him. All right. That's going to round things off for the first race, Dan. Now it's time to reset for race 2, and what a reset it is. The entire field gets inverted.
Yeah, they do indeed. So, because of that, it will be, Henry King, quote-unquote, on pole in the Porsche Cayman GT4 safety car. But yes, that will actually be Tyson Broad, the first of our racers, who will be on the podium. We're seeing also in the Zoom call, up the Waz, says Taylor Oakes, and we're about going to get it on screen apparently, because bring it back, Taylor, bring it back. We just got you on screen now.
Okay.
Someone tell the man, but being reminded that apparently there's a sport called rugby that's played in parts of the country in New Zealand.
Really? Oh dear. Well, Away we go for the second race then. Henry King's not going to take to the start. He's the safety car driver in this one. It means Tyson Broad is all on his lonesome on the front row of the grid. Then behind him we have Cameron Dance and Craig Mason on the second row with Peter Pavlovich and Anthony Green 5th and 6th. We got John Courtney and Taylor Oakes starting in 7th and 8th. And then Harry Dodds and Matthew Deere round out the top 9 starters in this one. Mazzomo, Peterson and Shepherd will round out your field here. Our question is, how will these guys do starting from the back as the revs will start to rise in just a few moments and the green flag gets ready to fly? We are away. Cameron Dance and Tyson Broad at the front of this field. They are best placed at the moment, with now Craig Mason, Peter Pavlovich, John Courtney, Anthony Green having to face off against a barrage from the drivers behind.
Slow start there. That's Anthony Green actually just dropping way wide and, well, out of the way, as it were there. That might perhaps be a good thing, as up towards the front of the field. Broad still leads, but Dance looking a little stronger off of turn 1. Side by side between Mazzomo and Dodds as they head towards Griffins. Dodds probably going to have to back out here, and he will. Shepherd for a second, I thought, was maybe thinking about a look, but no, he'll play that one a little bit more cautious here, as our top 4 there Broad, Dance, Mason, Pavlovich are a little broken away as Taylor Oakes is slow through the cutting, and he's going to get passed by Peterson at the very least. And now Mazzomo trying to eye him off before we get up to Reed Park once again. He will actually get through there in the 954, and it checks up Shepherd and Dodds both there towards the back of the field here on lap 1.
Okay, well, now it looks like it might have to be single file running, or will it? Because Dylan Shepherd's having a little look there at Taylor Oakes coming through McPhillamy. Not going to be able to get by for the time being. Down to the dipper. Does anyone have an issue through this sequence of corners? It looks like our leaders have gotten by properly. Everyone else too. So, just for the time being, lock up from Broad. There's a change for the lead. Broad gets into the wall.
Oh, big issue though. Further on back, there's that Matt. It's John Courtney, the second of our KRF cars, and that's a little bit more substantial of a hit to the wall there. As that's Matthew Deere in front of us now, as we're on board. Ben Peterson, leading driver from, well, the drivers in the invert so far, has made their way through the field. As Broad's loose through the chase and hit the gravel.
Okay, Broad, the issues continue. He actually re-enters the track all right. So does Peter Pavlovich.
Behind him.
Yeah, so does Pavlovich after an off of his own. And so that brings Ben Peterson now up into 4th place. Broad is serving a slowdown as Deere dips up the inside of Peter Pavlovich. And then across the start-finish line, I think Broad is going to have to defend hard here against Ben Peterson. They're almost 3 wide behind, meanwhile. Mazzomo trying his best to hold off Harry Dodds and Taylor Oakes, who's trying to hold on to some kind of position here. What a chaotic first lap.
So Shepherd's gotten through as well on Mazzomo. So there's a lot of things that basically happen one after another here. So we're starting over the curve all by himself there on the opening lap. Tyson Broad, I think he's just discovered how not to drive the car, as it were. Peter Bailey, I think, was that just entirely in reaction to seeing a car suddenly going all kinds of looses. Peterson's gone everything a little bit crossed up on the exit of turn 2. Stays out of the wall, return to the live pictures of him there, and trying to regather the car, but loses spots to Broad, Deere and Shepherd. I believe I saw all 3 of them go past there in the process.
Yeah, so Broad was defending from Peterson there, and Ben unfortunately gets the rear end out and almost loses it over the curb.
Thankfully, able to gather it back up. Meanwhile, in behind, Mazzomo and Pavlovich into McPhillamy. It's lap 2, gentlemen.
Oh, God.
We don't need the fireworks coming out this early. And Dodds around the outside of Skyline, taking advantage of the momentum loss for the 216, and he will make it work without contact, at least of any substantial variety. Oh my goodness.
I need a shower after this as Mazzomo. He locks up, gets into the wall. That was a bump to the tyre barriers. And it looks like there might be damage for the rear. And that's Matthew Deere.
Nope.
No, it isn't. It's John Courtney. My apologies. Got the car colours confused there. Oh dear, what might be a safety car.
And it is called right away. Leaders are in the chase. Compulsory pit window is open here on lap 2. This is now a slam dunk everyone into the lane. Is unfortunately
he caught the inside wall.
Don't see that too often, but yeah, spearing into the wall there. And indeed, I'm watching everyone now. Basically, destination pit lane. You got a compulsory stop to serve, and this is your chance to do it. A reduced penalty or reduced time conditions here is there. You go. Oh, how's that from? Would that be Dylan Shepherd the first? No, it was Ben Peterson the second of the blackout cars, absolutely firing it in to the pit lane. Now let's see who gets the strategy on the pit lane here. Right. As we'll watch everyone find their pit boxes. 2 tyres is what's needed to be taken. Everyone seems to have gotten that message clear enough. It's just a matter of, who's down off the jacks first. It was Cameron Dance who led them into the lane. He will be down and away first. Big 11sies from the number 6. Can be followed out by Craig Mason, who was second. Then it's going to be Broad. Matthew Deere gets out first. Peter Pavlovich is slow. No, my apologies. He's just...
He's getting extra damage repaired, potentially. Either that or he's changing all 4 tyres.
25 seconds might be damage. But yeah, I thought he came in more like 4th. Maybe I get my numbers completely crisscrossed there. In fact, in saying I can literally go through and just count like Dance, then Mason, then Broad, then Deere with the top 4, my bad. As another look at John Courtney there for a second. Unfortunately, damage to the front of the car like that. Probably terminal. And he's parked it up right with the cameraman was saying, but also apparently to appreciate one of our crowd members here in the virtual world. Prime location, apparently, for him.
Yeah, indeed. Looks like he'd been waiting to take that picture for a while. All right. Everyone back out on the circuit, minus John Courtney, of course. And now we wait and see who is going to win the battle of who gets their tyres heated up the fastest. There isn't going to be much of a strategy to the rest of the race now that everyone has taken their mandatory stop under safety car. They effectively all did it under the same conditions. So it's all about whether or not you'll be able to get them up to temperature. And Dance is certainly having a red hot go at it, isn't he? That's the quickest weaving I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, definitely some squiggling back and forth almost as it were there. There is, I guess, the tiniest bit of strategy here was wondering who's taken what tyres more than anything. Because we do have a pit stop range, it seems, of anywhere from 13 to 15 seconds for most of the cars. So, to me, it says, as we're going to apparently see the Zoom war in a second, because everyone's still warming to it. Oh, and he's even got the tongue out. Yeah, Dance is in apparently hyper concentration mode as he gets this car ready to roll on this restart. Mazoma a little bit more conventional weaving speed, I'd say there. But
looks like he's being filmed in slow motion at that rate.
Comparatively speaking, indeed. Well, the weaving stops now as the safety car pulls away from the field. Cameron Dance will have control of the race restart. Here it'll be 11 of our 12 starters who will take to this one. As John Courtney still towing back to the pits, if not now taking some damage repair. Although he doesn't have a mechanical black flag to his name, just not apparently there was enough there. But we'll see how things go. We saw a mix of early and late starts in the flat 4s off safety cars. Let's see how Cam Dance chooses to take this one here in the flat 6s. He now has control. We'll see he's holding through the chase for the moment. How late does our pole sitter, defending champ, race leader, defending series champ. There's a couple of number 1s on that car at the very least that matter right now. And the answer is going to be sometime around Murray's.
So green flag officially in the air by race control. Dance can accelerate anytime he likes, and it's the apex of Murray's that he decides to do it. So we are back to racing in the flat 6s. Already some big weaving going on again for Dylan Shepherd under race conditions. And now we reset ourselves. Racing begins again. How long can Craig Mason hold on there in second spot? He's got Tyson Broad chasing hard, who's gotten the little bit of damage he got repaired. While Matthew Deere still in 4th place. Shepherd and Peterson, the OPR blackout pair in 5th and 6th spot. They are starting to round up on Craig Mason here, but I think this is where Dance is going to get a big advantage because it's going to be hard for them to get by here, but Broad's going to have a go at it and spins Mason out in the cutting.
Well, from my angle there, it was ambitious, but he was well on the side there and got squeezed, but I guess we'll wait to see what race control and or a replay might say more of that one. But that was quite... Oh, it's damaged the car. It's damaged the car.
Oh, no. Oh, Matthew Deere, is that? No.
Yeah, it is Deere.
Oh, no. Oh, Mazomo, round the outside of McPhillamy, gets it done. I'm amazed that they both managed to keep going from that.
Oh, I have to admit, I just sort of was watching. I was like, oh, it's happening. Because the understeer from Broad's car. Oh, and then he's got a better for the dipper. He can't utilize it now. He's going to have to try and get his car pulled. Mazomo locks again at the elbow. Oh,
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, so he's not under threat. But right.
Let's take a breather here, gentlemen. That was a bit scary across the top. Got to say, great incident avoidance by the other drivers, but unfortunately nothing Tyson Broad could do to avoid the wall at that point. It looked like contact with Harry Dodds at the chase there. So a bad lap goes even worse for Tyson Broad. And actually, there wasn't contact with Dodds at all. He just took too much of the curb there. That's what started Tyson Broad's troubles. Yes, there was overlap, but you could argue it was a little optimistic of a move. From that point, we stay on the replay because you can see the damage is already starting to affect Broad's pace. And at this point, Deere decides, okay, I'll try and go up the inside here, but unfortunately not enough space. And just have a look at the supreme incident avoidance there from Mazomo and Dodds. They got on the brakes beautifully, and Pavlovich as well, despite going off the circuit, manages to avoid damage. And here's what happened at the chase. Broad sticking to the inside here versus Dodds, just way too much curb. The car goes airborne, and we talked about rebound in the 86s. That's what it does to a Porsche. Oh,
yeah, and then Taylor Oakes in at speed. Pavlovich slowing up to try and have options. Critically for me, what's not impressive is that's now twice for Tyson Broad, voluntarily taking the curb at the chase and getting the same result out of losing compression.
Yeah.
I would think, first time you happens, okay, fine. I guess you're finding it. Second time it happens, you should be expected, and I guess the whole thing of and board with
well, here's that's the onboard view there from Pavlovich, who took an unscheduled trip to the runoff area. Dylan Shepherd, meanwhile, through all of this, has made his way up to second place and is rapidly chasing down Cam Dance with Ben Peterson in tow. It will be a double-pronged attack from the OPR Blackout cars against the single Orbit Motorsports #1 at the top of this field. Dance, of course, being the reigning champion of the Flat 6 category. He hasn't had as good of a season this time round in 2023. And Shepherd getting into the 205s, low 205s at that. That's some stonking pace there from Shepherd and Peterson, who both managed to set times in the 205s. And I think that's the conditions working to their favor. The sun is starting to come down. The track temper's dropped by 2 degrees. There isn't as much sun hitting the track now. Mazomo, meanwhile, still carrying some damage from that chaotic restart, but I think he's keeping himself in a good position for this race, just as long as Harry Dodds races him cleanly here, and neither of them make a mistake.
Apologies, I'm going to try and talk less now. Apparently some audio problems on my end, I suspect, because this is not the first time I've had issues whilst commentating, it seems. Yeah, I've been just turned on. I sound fine at the moment, says Director Jack Kennedy. Just here waits until I apparently get a run going on, sentence-wise, as we watch there Dodds a lot more composed that time down the S's versus Mizomo. Hope for Mizomo's case he's not driving that one in the mirrors too much, because needs to make sure he gets the best line down the hill and here at the elbow too, but it's about even. Oh, and he's slow.
Ooh,
what was that there for?
Is that a slide? Not sure. Just looks.
Eyebrow game is strong, Miz.
Yeah, certainly is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to check Mizomo's onboard here and see if there was like a double gear shift or something, or he had to lift out of the throttle. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's a tactical move behind Dodds, because remember, Mizomo has that front end damage to his car. He'll be suffering in terms of straight line speed unless he has a car to draft.
That's possible, yep. I do know that he made his own wheel very recently, and that involved... Anyways, on board with Mizomo here. Second gear, third. That almost looks like it didn't shift. But
yeah, either that or a throttle cut. I'm not sure.
Meanwhile, for the race lead, Dylan Shepherd ran the outside of Cameron Dance at Griffin's Bend. All right then. I said that going around the outside would be quite a bit harder in these cars than the flat fours. We didn't see it much in the flat fours, but Shepherd just reminds me once again that it is most certainly possible with the right amount of bravado, and you have to get it, force the car on the inside so tight that they actually leave a little bit of that camber in available here. He's a nose ahead, and he's able to turn down on Dance and pinch the number one right to the white line there through Griffin's, and job well done by both.
Yeah, that's, close but hard racing, and fair too, which is what we like to see. So now all three of our podium are together, and now it's up to Ben Peterson to find a way past Dance and secure a 1-2 for the team in both races. With 7 laps to go, he has plenty of time to do it. But Dance's racecraft has generally been pretty good over his time racing in SimSpeed broadcasts. Let's just forget that lap 1, race 1 in this category ever happened. Dance is trying to come back at Shepherd. Meanwhile, he's managed to stick in the slipstream very nicely. And I don't think this battle for the lead is going to be something that Shepherd can get away from anytime soon.
If Dance keeps his nose clean and keeps it steady, the slipstream will most certainly help him out a bit here and allow him to stick with the 43. We know Shepherd had the pace in qualifying, though with Dance not able to make qualifying for the flat sixes on account for the flat fours session. Guess that is a bit of a question mark, though. That there at Hell Corner set advantaged Shepherd as they make the run up Mountain Straight. Draft will keep Dance in it, but does lose a little bit of time on the overall, I think, on that one there. Is into Griffins we go once again. And yeah, this could be interesting here with our top 3 pretty much nose to tail here. They said a second covering them would certainly count in these cars.
Yeah, that would. All right then. The laps tick down, and across the top of the mountain they go. A little bit of lifting off across the top here, and maybe a tap of the brakes on the way into McPhillamy Park just to keep the weight on the fronts. It's all about weight transfer across the top of the circuit and in these cars in general. Seems like all 3 of them are very well matched at this stage. Once Dance is in a pack, he seems to just come alive, doesn't he?
I guess, yeah. Focus up, sharpen up, and really go for it there. As trouble for Harry Dodds down the S's. We just saw also with the leaders, Ben Peterson dropped off the back as Dodds requests a tow on the radio and being parked up amongst the concrete. I can't see this going any other way, as that's already not looking too great. And he's run wide, and he's found the wall big time there on the way up towards repark. And safety car is called as a result.
Keep watching this.
Yeah, we will indeed. So fuel neutralized, by the way, with 5 to go. So damaged already. Okay,
and then bam, and then bam, down the hill. Yep. Hit it a couple of times on the way down through Skyline as well, and I think that is the end of that car's race.
Yeah, that would probably be the case. And
Oh, he's not happy.
yeah.
Damn. How would you be in Harry Dodds' position there? Running so well, trying to fight your way up this field, and it comes to an end like that.
Unfortunately, it will be that way. So field will recompress once again. Peterson actually gets a bit of a second chance. Shocker into and through Forest Elbow on that last lap, which meant he, dropped off the back of our top two. Tyres cooled down. To see who can take advantage of that as well. We might have something extra to give in this. So we'll also have to see if we get just this one lap behind the safety car. We'll potentially get two. We'll dictate if it's a full lap sprint or sprint lap. Second run.
Yeah, so replay on board Harry Dodds coming up the mountain here, and looks like he turned in a bit too early, hit the inside wall at Reed Park, and from then on the car just probably didn't feel too good for him. So he already has some right hand down there, tries to turn in for McPhillamy, and the suspension issues just kept getting worse. He would have thought that the car was going straight when actually it was heading towards the outside wall at the entry to the S's. So a few more grazes to the wall, and the front left suspension of that car is indeed destroyed. Dodds is now back in the lane, and the safety car, I believe, is ending this lap. The lights are no longer flashing on the front of that Porsche Cayman. So now it'll be up to Dylan Shepherd to get the best start possible and secure the last 4 laps of this race.
Yes, can confirm the message. So have to pull away one here. So we will get 4 ideally in this. To 8 cars on the lead lap, and then Craig Mason is still circulating. Actually, no, pardon me. Apparently says he's in, and yes, has been in the pit. So we are down to just 8 cars. So they're all there, lined up, ready to roll. Time to see this time how it goes with Shepherd leading them away here first.
All right, away we go. Coming into the chase, you can see how much Dance is piling on to Dylan Shepherd here. He's sticking very close to him, right on the rear bumper of the car. And meanwhile, Ben Peterson is hanging back just a little more, maybe trying to look for a way through and then play a bit of rear gunner for his teammate. Green flag is out for race control. Now it is up to Shepherd to go when he wants to, and it looks like it's the apex of the chase that is where he decides to go, and he gets a good start. Seems like Ben Peterson wasn't quite on board with that, and Mazzomo is now pressuring him for third coming into Murray's corner. Can't make the move just yet, though. Now they're across the line. Now they can pass. We are back to racing on the 10th lap of 13 here at Mount Panorama to end off night 1 of V8SCOPS supports, and Dylan Shepherd with the best start possible for the time being, 7 tenths ahead of Cameron Dance, and looks to me like the field's nicely spaced out at the moment. It'll probably be about half a lap before we start seeing some attempts at moves.
That looks to be the case, yep, as they work their way up into Griffins once more. And this game here of warming the cars back up. The tyres have had a lap to cool off. And they need to warm them back up and make the most of them here as into the cutting will go. And it looks like it's going to be nothing crazy here. In fact, nothing happening just yet at all throughout the entire 8 drivers here in the line.
Okie dokes. Let's give this a go. Down the hill. Up at the highest point of the circuit at McPhillamy Park. Mazzomo still chasing Peterson for 4th, but you see that the damage is not doing him any favours here. He's just continuing to lose little bits of time through every single corner. We'll be hoping that he's within 1.5 seconds run out of Forest Elbow. Dance still pressuring Shepherd for the lead of the race. He dives into Forest Elbow and hooks up the apex very nicely. Oh, there was a spin in the background there. That was Peterson. Lost the rear end. Very big slide there from car number 81. And there was no contact with the wall. He just spun them up on the exit of the elbow, which we haven't really seen tonight. That means that Mazomo is now past him. See whether or not that walking wounded 954 can hold him off. Here's the replay of how it happened. Peterson jumps on into the elbow, gets on the power, and then just whoop, a little bit of a loss of traction there. Nicely recovered indeed. But now, he's looking to find a way back past Mazomo. That's a good run through Murray's corner, side by side, down the start-finish straight, and it should be a nice, easy move up the inside into turn 1 to get the position back. But, crucially, he has lost touch with Dance and Shepherd.
I believe it was another brake lock from Mazomo at Murray's, because I can tell you that's what did happen and helped set that one up again. Mazomo is struggling to get the brake balance right and keep the front end from locking. Wanted to go inside of Peterson, who was on the white line. Found out pretty quickly that he was putting wheels in the grass, and as a result lost some speed there into Griffins. So we'll have to reset and try again. Has to also be careful. Matthew Deere is only half a second back off him here, and Taylor Oakes another second back in P6. So approaching 2.5 laps to go here as they climb the mountain once more. But any errors, mistakes here could quickly be more than just the one spot exchanged.
Yeah, certainly could be. So Peterson across the hill then. Sun blasting us in the eyes here as we're coming up to 5:15 p.m. in sim time. Both battles on screen at the moment. Looks like Peterson is back in his rhythm and starting to jet away from Mazomo. Dance still shadowing Dylan Shepherd. But with every corner that goes by, it looks like Shepherd's the one with the edge here in the lead of this race.
Yeah, Dance is there, but not close enough by my numbers. About, well, twice as far away as he needs to be to get a chance at a run on Dance. On Shepherd. Into the chase here. Looks to be about 0.3 of a second is what the margin needs to be with the way they've got their cars set up at this stage for the draft to be beneficial here. With a gap of about 0.7 of a second. Obviously that is just a bit too far out of reach. So 2 to go here at the line to bring things to a close for the opening night of our Bathurst 1000 weekend as Shepherd proceeds to put the fastest lap of the race officially down on the charts as Dance pushing hard and maybe just a bit too hard there. Reese runs it wide into the grass ever so slightly, but it's cost him quite a few tenths there on the exit of Falcon.
For the time being, Mazomo now looks in danger of losing 4th. Still about, at this point, I'd say 11 Ks of racing to go, maybe 10. 12 all up if you count the whole of the last 2 laps, but of course the first half of the circuit is mostly straights and it's quite a long track in any case. Mazomo trying his best to stay in touch with Ben Peterson, but it's not happening for the time being. There's still a battle going on for 7th. Meanwhile, Peter Pavlovich versus Anthony Green. These are the last 2 running cars on the track. We have had 4 retirements from this race, including Harry Dodds, Tyson Broad, Craig Mason, and John Courtney. So this is the battle for who ultimately finishes last in this race. And for the time being, it looks like Pavlovich has the slightest of edges over Anthony Green, but they're still got to make it around this track 1.5 more times from here. A little bit less than that for Dylan Shepherd and Cam Dance, and you see that Shepherd has continued to extend his gap. It is now at about 1.2 seconds, and down Conrod Straight, Cam Dance will be feeling the last little fading whispers of the slipstream, and I barely think he'll have it at all on the last lap if Shepherd keeps up this pace.
Yeah, and with the way this race has played out so far, I would say this is probably Shep's race to lose. Has been able to convert the qualifying pace into race pace, and just Dance is good in these cars, but Shepherd is also racing them a little more regularly, I think, and that's certainly helping the case. He will be the one to take the white flag from Barney here in race 2. Less than 6.213 kilometres now stand between him and the checkered flag, and he's already negotiated the first of the 23 turns he needs to get round.
Righty-ho. Turn 2 for Dylan Shepherd. He's shown some spectacular driving at this particular corner. That's how he got into the lead versus Cam Dance. And now he enjoys a good gap as Dance was a little bit wide there at turn 2 himself. So who knows? Ben Peterson might have a chance at second if that run continues here for Cam. Just needs to gather it up and get the consistency back. One final replay, and you see that he went just a tiny bit deep in the corner, lost the rear in the middle of it, but he does gather it up and keep it going. So now he just needs to keep it out of the walls, keep it on the black stuff, and he might just be able to finish ahead of Peterson, who's continuing to drive as hard as he possibly can to catch up for second spot.
As we watch here down the S's, second back, it would take an error from Dance, I would think, too, at this stage, for Peterson to have a proper chance at something here. Shepherd negotiates the elbow okay, as does Dance, I think, there as well. And so leaves us with just 2 braking zones left on this circuit here at Mount Panorama to wrap up the evening's affairs. On board with Peterson here in third, looking at the back of Dance, just on a second back. Unfortunately, that's about 7/10 too far back to make a move here into the chase. And then really from there, it should be fairly processional. He's indeed trying to get that gap closed down, and he will get it pulled up there as well. But with just one corner to go, it looks like Dylan Shepherd and Cameron Dance and Ben Peterson will come across the line in that order. And indeed, Shep, neat and tidy, round the final turn, takes the checkered flag first. Peterson going to try all the way to the line, Reese. Unfortunately, he will have to settle for third place.
Simon Mazzomo, putting on a sterling defence versus Matthew Deere, will hold on to fourth. Nicely done there. Finishing in fifth place, Taylor Oakes, and then we have Peter Pavlovich and Anthony Green, last 2 finishers of this race. And that is going to be the conclusion of racing action for the Friday night of the V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 weekend. Dylan Shepherd, Cameron Dance and Ben Peterson, your podium for race 2. Looks like Shepherd's going to take the round win for flat sixes with 2 wins on the board. And Peterson, Mazzomo and Deere will round out the top 5 there with Oakes, Pavlovich, Green, Dodds and Mason, your top 10. Looks to me like, unfortunately, Harry Dodds might not have made it, only by a little bit, enough to get classified there. But the remainder of the cars included Tyson Broad and John Courtney, who were out very early on. Henry King spent some time out there as well as the safety car driver. Wow, what a weekend it has been so far, and we're only one night in, Dan.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, Bathurst and the weekend of the 1000 most certainly delivers when it comes to crazy and entertaining racing, that is for sure. And, well, that's just one day of action. It's also the one night we only have to do. As I said at the start of the Flat Falls broadcast, I'm being a bit naughty and taking the afternoon off tomorrow to go do some music playing. Apparently, also, I'm just being told you're also taking a short reprieve. So it'll actually be I believe I've seen David Haynes put his hand up to step into the booth, and potentially Scott Rankin might jump in as well, because coverage returns tomorrow afternoon, 2:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, for more about the final support series races before we then jump into qualifying for the V8SCOPS Bathurst 1000 tomorrow evening, which includes both the qualifying session and the top 15 shootout returns once again.
Absolutely it does. It's a big weekend here on SimSpeed TV. We hope you stick with us. Make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Also follow us on Kick and like us on Facebook as well for more racing action from Virtual Bathurst this weekend. Thanks to Wilson's Industrial Sales and OKMS Media and Graphics for their support of the V8SCOPS supports, and of course to the crew at Oceanic Sim Racing for putting this whole shebang on in the first place. Congratulations to our race winners for tonight. I'm Reese Gardner. Dan Yeaman with me in the comms box, and Jake Kennedy on production. We're SimSpeed TV. We'll see you tomorrow.